Chapter 3302. Interesting. Jean Wuyin remained calm in the face of Mo Qingyun's provocation. He did not show any signs of anger. After sizing up Mo Qingyun, Jean Wuyin's expression gradually turned cold. He said, "You are not worth my time. However, you will inform Bai Xin and the others of your whereabouts. I believe they will take action on my behalf. Also, let me remind you that those who dared to provoke me in the heavenly demon divine territory have all died. I hope you will not be the next." Mo Qingyun did not back down when he heard Jean Wuyin's words. He retorted, "What a coincidence. Those who want to go against me do not have good endings either. I hope the heavenly demon divine territory's Heaven Killer Guild will not follow in the footsteps of the Eastern Lai Islands Heaven Killer Guild." Mo Qingyun's strong counterattack made the surrounding people feel a strong sense of oppression. At this moment, although Mo Qingyun and Enlin did not attack, the smell of gunpowder was extremely strong. Boom, boom, boom. At this moment, while Mo Qingyun and Enlin were confronting each other, the West Sea Dragon Palace's doors opened. Seeing the West Sea Dragon Palace open, the people guarding around the West Sea Dragon Palace immediately tensed up. At the same time, their attention was drawn away from Mo Qingyun and the others. Compared to watching Mo Qingyun and Enlin fight, entering the West Sea Dragon Palace to seize the treasures was their priority. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Many figures flashed as they rapidly charged into the West Sea Dragon Palace. Seeing that everyone had entered, Mo Qingyun did not hesitate and followed closely behind them. Mo Qingyun flew towards the entrance of the West Sea Dragon Palace. Enlin and Ao Lai followed closely behind and flew into the West Sea Dragon Palace together. Seeing Mo Qingyun enter the West Sea Dragon Palace, Jean Wuyin's eyes narrowed slightly. He said to a person beside him, "Immediately send news of Mo Qingyun to the Heaven Killer Guild in the Heavenly Human Divine Territory. Have Bai Xin and the others take care of this kid." "Yes." Hearing Jean Wuyin's instructions, a quasi-divine king powerhouse by his side immediately went to carry out the task. After instructing a follower, Jean Wuyin looked at the blood-eyed demon king and said, "Brotherly, let's not waste any more time and enter the West Sea Dragon Palace." "All right." Blood-eyed demon king nodded and flew into the West Sea Dragon Palace. Seeing the blood-eyed demon king approaching, the people in front immediately made way for him. They were well aware of the blood-eyed demon king's overbearingness. If he was angered, the consequences would be dire. They weren't Mo Qingyun, who had a strong background and backing, so they didn't have to fear the blood-eyed demon king. Seeing the blood-eyed demon king open the way, Jean Wuyin chuckled and casually followed behind him. Not long after, the two groups also entered the Western Sea Dragon Palace. Within the West Sea Dragon Palace, when Mo Qingyun entered the West Sea Dragon Palace, he clearly felt a strong repulsive force. Mo Qingyun wasn't the only one who felt that way. The others beside him also felt the same way. Sensing his situation, and Chen's expression turned solemn, and he said, "There seems to be a strong repulsive force and oppression towards people who aren't from the Dragon Clan in this Dragon Palace ruins. In this Dragon Palace ruins, people who don't have the Dragon Clan's bloodline can only use 90% of their strength at most." Hearing in Chen's words, Mo Qingyun looked at Ao Lai and said, "Ao Lai, how do you feel? Do you feel any oppression or repulsive force?" Ao Lai answered honestly, "When I first entered, I felt a repulsive force and oppression. However, when I activated my bloodline power, that feeling disappeared." "Is that so?" Hearing Ao Lai's answer, Mo Qingyun pondered. He thought to himself, "I have the Amethyst Thunder Dragon bloodline. If I activate the Amethyst Thunder Dragon bloodline, it should be the same." With that thought, Mo Qingyun activated the Amethyst Thunder Dragon bloodline to verify his guess. As the Amethyst Thunder Dragon bloodline was activated, the oppression that Mo Qingyun felt immediately weakened by a lot. However, it didn't disappear like Ao Lai had said. After obtaining this result, Mo Qingyun thought for a moment and came up with an answer. The Dragon Clan of the West Sea Dragon Palace belongs to the Demon Clan of the demarcating sea of the deity domain. There are some differences between them and the brute demons and intelligent demons. My Amethyst Thunder Dragon bloodline belongs to the intelligent demon lineage. I still feel some oppression. This should be the reason. Mo Qingyun understood this point and didn't think too much about it. He said to Enchun, "Let's go deeper into the Dragon Palace." After saying that, Mo Qingyun took the lead and walked into the West Sea Dragon Palace. When Enchun heard this, they immediately followed closely behind and slowly walked into the West Sea Dragon Palace. When Mo Qingyun and Enchun went deeper, Jin Wuyin, who came from behind, had a strange look in his eyes. He said, "The Dragon Clan doesn't seem to be oppressed here. If we borrow some dragon blood, we might be able to weaken the oppression." When Jin Wuyin thought of this, a cold light flashed in his eyes. He glanced at Ao Lai behind Mo Qingyun. "Brotherly, help me stop Enchun. I'll capture that Dragon Clan member." After instructing the Blood-Eyed Demon King, Jin Wuyin's figure moved and attacked Ao Lai. Sensing Jin Wuyin's action, Enchin's expression turned cold and he shouted, "Get lost." Enchin shouted angrily. He let Jin Wuyin attack to stop him from capturing Ao Lai. Seeing Enchin's action, the Blood-Eyed Demon King smirked and quickly flew towards Enchun. He said, "The fight just now was too short. It wasn't fun enough. Let's spar again." As the Blood-Eyed Demon King spoke, a dazzling flame shot out from his eyes. When the flame shot out, it turned into a stream of light and shot towards Mo Qingyun. In the Blood-Eyed Demon King's opinion, if he attacked Mo Qingyun, he would definitely force Enchun to stop him. Just as the Blood-Eyed Demon King had guessed, Enchun sensed his action and immediately blocked the attack for Mo Qingyun. Seeing Enchin's action, the Blood-Eyed Demon King sneered proudly and said, "Brother Jin, I've blocked Enchun for you. The rest is up to you." "Well said." Jin Wuyin laughed heartily and slapped out a palm toward Ao Lai, blasting out an astonishing divine power. When the divine power burst out, it turned into a huge palm shadow and enveloped Ao Lai. Seeing Jin Wuyin's action, Mo Qingyun raised his hand and said, "It seems that you want to touch my people. Have you asked for my permission? It seems that you didn't take my previous warning to heart." As Mo Qingyun spoke, a terrifying aura burst out in front of him. After that, a figure flashed out and blocked Ao Lai's path. That figure shielded Ao Lai and struck out with a palm, meeting Jin Wuyin's attack head-on. Bang! When the two palms collided, there was a loud explosion and a terrifying divine power storm. The explosion of the divine power storm forced Mo Qingyun and Ao Lai to retreat and confront each other again. Fupi in Chinese. Chapter 3303. When everyone retreated, the divine power storm showed no signs of weakening. Instead, it became stronger and stronger. Not only that, under the impact of the divine power storm, the formation restriction in the West Sea Dragon Palace was triggered. As soon as the forbidden formation was activated, it emitted a mystical energy that shrouded everyone. Sensing the situation, everyone's expression changed drastically. Shock surged in their eyes. What a strong suction force. It seems to be taking me somewhere. Sensing the power on his body, Mo Qingyun was slightly shocked, but he did not stop it. Sensing the current situation, Mo Qingyun's expression tensed up. He looked at Ao Lai seriously and said, "If I'm not wrong, we might be separated. You have to protect yourself carefully. If you encounter others, don't fight with them. Try to find a place to hide." Hearing Mo Qingyun's instructions, Ao Lai nodded seriously. Now, apart from Mo Qingyun, he had the lowest cultivation in the West Sea Dragon Palace. But could he compare to Mo Qingyun? Although Mo Qingyun was only a great deity, his combat strength was comparable to a peak heavenly god. More importantly, Mo Qingyun had countless trump cards. Even Divine King experts would be at a disadvantage if they encountered him. After giving Ao Lai some instructions, Mo Qingyun thought for a while and took out a Great Path Origin. He said, This is a great path origin of a divine king expert. It can still be used twice. Take it with you to protect yourself. Thank you, benefactor. Ao Lai did not reject Mo Qingyun's gift. He accepted it gratefully. At this moment, Mo Qingyun had just given him the great path origin, and his vision blurred. After a while, when Mo Qingyun's vision returned to normal, he had already appeared elsewhere. This was a huge valley. At a glance, it was a vast expanse of whiteness. Endless skeletons were piled up into mountains of bones. On those bone mountains, there was a terrifying aura of resentment, giving people a strong sense of oppression. What a terrifying resentment. It's even stronger than the East Sea Lost Palace. Sensing the resentment on the bone mountain, Mo Qingyun was shocked. His expression became serious. Mo Qingyun was secretly delighted as well. He said, previously in the lost palace of the East Sea, Gong Hanqing and the other ghostly immortals were unable to progress further due to the excessive consumption of resentment. There's so much resentment gathered here. If I use it to nourish the specter god, it should be able to make the specter god stronger. With this thought in mind, Mo Qingyun didn't waste any more time. He immediately took out a ghostly immortal. Gong Hanqing took out a few ghostly immortals and had Mo Qingyun throw them into the grievous energy, allowing them to be tempered and strengthened by the grievous energy. Just as Mo Qingyun had expected, after throwing in a few ghosts and deities, their auras began to rise rapidly. Seeing this, Mo Qingyun also threw ghost god Guanpeng and the others into the resentment valley. However, what Mo Qingyun didn't expect was that as soon as ghost god Guanpeng and the others entered the resentment valley, they were violently corroded by the grievous energy. In just a moment, more than half of their bodies had been corroded. Some of them were almost annihilated by the corrosion. Seeing this, Mo Qingyun didn't dare to hesitate. He immediately summoned them back. When the ghosts and deities were summoned back, their bodies were all broken and badly damaged. Seeing the state of the ghosts and deities, Mo Qingyun frowned. He thought, I was careless this time. It seems that the situation of ghost god Guanpeng and the others is different from that of ghost god Gong Hanqing and the others. Their strength wasn't tempered by the grievous energy, so they can't be tempered by the grievous energy. Mo Qingyun understood this point. He put away ghost god Guanpeng and the others. He said, these ghosts and deities have been greatly damaged. Under the tyrannical corrosion of the grievous energy, their battle strength has been weakened by nearly 70%. If I want to restore their battle strength, I'll have to buy a large amount of tempering materials and refine them again. Thinking of this, Mo Qingyun felt a headache coming on. He didn't even have the materials to refine the ghosts and deities. How could he have the materials to repair them? If he wanted to repair the ghosts and deities, he would have to leave the Western Sea Dragon Palace first. Gong Hanqing and the other ghosts and deities need some time to be tempered by the grievous energy. I can take the opportunity to cultivate. With this thought, Mo Qingyun didn't waste any more time and began to cultivate. In a hotel on East Lai Island, news of Mo Qingyun's whereabouts had been relayed from a main hall of the Heaven Slayer Society in the Sky Human Divine region. After receiving Mo Qingyun's whereabouts, Wuyie's face darkened. He said, I didn't expect this kid to run so fast. He actually left the Sky Human Divine region and entered the Sea of Boundary. We can't waste any more time. We have to act immediately and capture him before he enters the Sky Demon Divine region. Hearing Wuyie's thoughts, Tao stood up and said anxiously, What are we waiting for? Let's go now. Once he enters the Sky Demon Divine region, it will be a whole new level of difficulty to capture him. More importantly, that kid's strength is increasing rapidly. If we let him continue to grow, we may not be able to do anything to him. Hearing Tao's concerns, Yu and the others tensed up. They were also worried. Yu pondered for a while and said with a troubled expression, If we go to the Sea of Boundary, what if the elders come back and find that we're not here? Hearing Yu's concerns, Wuye and the others nodded. During this time, The elders of the Dark Heaven Holy Clan had already arrived and were exploring the Ghoul Sect's supreme god ruins. Hearing Yu Yu's concerns, Anhai smiled sweetly and said, "That's easy. You guys go to the Sea of Boundary. I, and she, and Long, and I will stay here and wait for the elders to come back." Hearing Anhai's suggestion, Anwulia and the others hesitated. They were considering whether they should do it or not. Seeing Anwulia and the others' reaction, and Tao was dissatisfied and said, "What's there to hesitate about? Leave a few people here to tell the elders that we're going to the Sea of Boundary. Don't forget that the real inheritance of the Ghoul Sect's supreme god is probably with that kid. This is a matter of great importance to the clan. If we delay because of this, we will be punished." Hearing in Tao's words, Yu Yu nodded and said, "If that's the case, then it's decided. Mo Qingyun is very cunning and has many tricks up his sleeve. Just in case, let's wait for the elders to come back and let them go." "All right." Anhai nodded. After they finished discussing, Anwulia and the others didn't waste any more time and immediately set off for the Sea of Boundary. Not long after, Anwulia and the others left Onglai City and bumped into Kong Xianin and the others. Chapter 33:04. Those guys from the Dark Heaven Holy Sect look like they are in a hurry. It seems like they have something important to do. These guys teamed up to deal with me and Mo Qingyun in the Ghost Sect Hierarch's ruins. We can't let this go. Since we've met them today, let's settle the score with them and let them know how powerful we are. That's right. Even if we can't teach them a lesson, we can at least interfere with them. After sizing up Anwulia and the others, Kong Xianyue and the other women's expressions turned cold as they launched their attacks. Seeing Kong Xianin and the other women's attacks, Anwulia and the others were annoyed. At this critical moment, they actually encountered Kong Xianin and the other women and were attacked by them. They had to admit that they were really unlucky. Facing Kong Xianin and the other women's attacks, Anwulia and the others were enraged and quickly launched their attacks. Soon after, the two sides started fighting fiercely. For a moment, the battle shook the heavens and the earth. The two sides' strength was about the same. Although the battle caused a huge commotion, no one could do anything to the other. Kong Xianin and the other women didn't care about the situation, but Anwulia and the others couldn't stand it. They didn't have time to tangle with Kong Xianyue and the other women. "You crazy women, get out of my way before I get angry. We don't have time to tangle with you. If you know what's good for you, you'd better get out of the way. Don't talk nonsense with them. Retreat." After fighting with Kong Xianin and the other women for a while, Anwulia and the others retreated without any intention to fight. Their retreat made Kong Xianin and the other women's fighting spirit soar. Kong Xianyue said excitedly, "Humph, weren't you very powerful in the Ghost Sect Hierarch's ruins? Why are you all cowards now?" Hearing Kong Xianyue's words, Anwulia and the others' faces turned pale and the anger in their hearts grew stronger. However, they were in a hurry to find Mo Qingyun, so they suppressed their anger. Seeing Anwulia and the others' reaction, Kong Xianyue squinted her beautiful eyes and said to Kong Xianin and the other women, "They must have something urgent to do. Otherwise, with their character, they won't retreat so easily when we attack them. Since that's the case, we must not let them leave. Let them worry and anger them to death." Hearing Kong Xianyue's words, Kong Xianin and the other girls nodded, feeling that this was a good way to vent their anger. Soon after, Kong Xianin and the other girls attacked even more fiercely. With Kong Xianin and the other ladies' attacks, Anwulia and the other situation became even worse. Anwulia and the others were furious when they realized that their retreat had made the situation worse for them. "You bunch of crazy women, do you really think I can't do anything to you? Attack with all your might. Defeat these women first, then head to the divine domain's world-dividing sea. You forced me to do this. Die." Anwulia and the others were enraged, and their attacks became even more ruthless. Anwulia and the others' attacks became more and more ruthless. Kong Xianyue and the other girls' advantage slowly disappeared. However, all in all, Kong Xianyue and the other girls did not fall behind. Anwulia and the others were very dissatisfied with this situation, but there was nothing they could do about it. Seeing that Kong Xianin and the other girls were unable to retreat, Yu Yu's expression became tense and said, "We can't go on like this. If we split up, they won't be able to continue chasing us." Hearing Yu Yu's suggestion, Wu Ye and the others thought for a moment, then nodded and agreed. Then, they split up and retreated in two different directions. Seeing Wu Ye and the others' actions, Kong Xianin and the other girls were stunned. They were surprised by the situation. After a slight surprise, Kong Xianyue said coldly, "They're trying to get rid of us. They must be plotting something. We can't let them escape. Senior Sister Xianin, let's split up and chase them. Let's see what they're trying to do." Hearing Kong Xianyue's words, Kong Xianin nodded and said, "All right, let's split up and chase them. Xinyu Yi, you go with Yuji and Baiyu. I'll go with Xianyue and Qinqi. To prevent them from plotting something, we'll contact the elders and wait for them to come to our aid." "Okay." Hearing Kong Xianin's words, Qinyu nodded and left with the other girls. Kong Xianin didn't hesitate and said to Kong Xianyue and the other girls, "Let's chase." After Kong Xianin's words, she and the other girls continued to chase after Wu Ye and the others. Qinyu Yi and the other girls chased after Wu Ye and the others. "These girls are crazy. They're simply unreasonable. If I wasn't worried about Mo Qingyun escaping, I would have killed them all. Ignore them. I don't believe that they can keep chasing us." Seeing Kong Xianin and the other girls chasing after them, Wu Ye and the others' faces darkened. They were furious to the extreme. Next, the two sides chased after each other as they rushed towards the Sea of Boundaries. A few days later, in the Sea of Boundaries, in the West Sea Dragon Palace, in front of a few tall bone mountains, a young man opened his eyes and a faint smile appeared on his face. Peak early Great God Realm. After coming out from cultivation, Mo Qingyun showed a satisfied smile and said, "I didn't expect that the remaining blood essence in these bones would allow my cultivation to rise so quickly. It's a pity that the amount of blood essence in these bones is too little. If there's more, I will be able to break through to the mid-Great God Realm." Mo Qingyun sighed. He stopped thinking about it and looked at the few ghost gods. After a few simple glances, Mo Qingyun knew the situation of Gong Hanqing and the other ghost gods. Gong Hanqing's cultivation had successfully broken through to the late Divine King realm after a few days of refinement. Although the other ghost gods had not broken through to the late Divine King realm, they were not far away from it. In this way, although a few ghost gods have been injured, their overall strength has not weakened. Mo Qingyun pondered as he sensed the situation of the ghost deities. Let's wait for a few more days. When Zhan Sheng and the other ghost deities reach the late Divine King realm, I will leave this place. Then, Mo Qingyun waited patiently at the side of the Bone Mountains with this thought in mind. A few days passed very quickly. To Mo Qingyun's disappointment, other than Zhan Sheng and Shan Yinqing, the other ghost gods had not broken through. Moreover, the speed of their cultivation had slowed down. At the current speed, they would need at least a few months to break through. Seeing the speed of their cultivation, Mo Qingyun did not want to wait any longer. Chapter 3305 Madman God Sect. After more than 10 days of dealing with the aftermath of Mo Qingyun's battle, the effects of the battle finally subsided. At this moment, Madman God King was sitting in the main hall, discussing the future plans with the elders. Sitting to the right of the Madman God King was an old man dressed in a gray robe. He said, "Sectmaster, the Iron Wolf Glacier Clan has sent someone over. They want you to make a trip to the Iron Wolf Glacier Clan." As soon as the elder finished speaking, Niet Zong said with a nervous expression, "Father, you mustn't go. The Iron Wolf Glacier tribe must be up to no good if they ask you to go. Perhaps they've already set up an ambush for you when they told you to go over." Madman God King shook his head helplessly when he heard Nie Zhang's worried words. He said, "You can't hide forever. You still have to face what you have to face. Unless I disband Madman God's sect, I must go to the Iron Wolf Glacier tribe. Whether I can come back alive will depend on my luck." God King Eccentric's words caused the expressions of everyone in the hall to darken. Mo Qingyun's incident had dealt a huge blow to Madman God's sect. Madman God's sect had two God King experts. One had left in disappointment, while the other was facing a life and death crisis. If Madman God King met with misfortune, Madman God's sect would no longer live up to its name. At this moment, several terrifying auras descended while everyone was talking. Madman God King and the others in the main hall looked terrified when they sensed the auras. God Emperor experts had descended, and there was more than one of them. Upon learning of this situation, the expressions of God King Madman and the others trembled, and their complexions turned pale. Could it be that the Emperor of the Iron Wolf Glacier tribe had arrived? Quick, go out and receive them. After a short moment of fear, Madman God King dared not delay and immediately walked out of the main hall. Soon, everyone walked out of the main hall and saw the three people in the air. When a Madman God King saw the three of them, he immediately recognized their identities. The three of them were Tsinbai Xin, Zhou Hulua, and Tai Lingyi from the heavenly human god territory. Looking at Tsinbai Xin and the other two in the air, God King Madman said respectfully, Nie Mingxi pays his respects to the three domain lords. When a Madman God King bowed, Nie Zong and the others also knelt down and saluted the three people in the air. Tsinbai Xin said coldly, The three of us have come because we have something to ask you. If you dare to hide anything from us, don't blame us for being ruthless. Hearing the other party's warning words, the Madman God King's expression twitched. He hurriedly said, Domain Lord, feel free to ask. If Mingxi knows, I will definitely tell you the truth. Seeing the Madman God King's attitude, Tsinbai Xin nodded in satisfaction. I heard from my subordinates that your wife's niece, Jiang Yunxi, has a pretty good relationship with Mo Qingyun. Yes. God King Madman nodded respectfully. Tsinbai Xin didn't stop there. He continued, Where did Jiang Yunxi and the others go? Tell me about their whereabouts and where they went. Hearing Tsinbai Xin's words, God King Madman's eyes were at a loss. He said, This junior is ashamed. I know nothing about the whereabouts of my wife, Yunxi, and the others. I also don't know where they went. Senior, your Heaven Slayer Association is well informed. It should be much easier than me. God King Madman's answer made Tsinbai Xin and the other two's expressions immediately become ugly. In their view, God King Madman's answer was clearly hiding the whereabouts of Jiang Yunxi and the others. However, God King Madman's excuse was also not wrong. In terms of gathering information, there was really no one who could compare to the Heaven Slayer Association. Although Tsinbai Xin was confident that he could find the whereabouts of Jiang Yunxi and the others, he did not want to waste manpower. After all, there were two Divine King Realm powerhouses in Jiang Yunxi's group. Wanting to investigate the whereabouts of two Divine Kings and not be discovered by them was definitely an extremely difficult matter. At this moment, as the two sides faced off, a powerful aura approached with extreme speed. Sensing this aura, regardless of whether it was God King Madman and the others or Tsinbai Xin and the others, they were all shocked. This was the aura of an Emperor God. An Emperor God was rushing over. Under everyone's shocked gazes, a figure surrounded by frost appeared in front of everyone. When this frost-encased figure discovered Tsinbai Xin and the others, shock flashed in his eyes. Soon after, his face filled with fear as he looked at Tsinbai Xin and the other two in front of him and said, Everyone, did you come to the Madman God sect because the Madman God King invited you to help? He had to be careful when dealing with the three Emperor God Realm experts. Hearing the other party's question, Tsinbai Xin shook his head and said, Emperor God Iron Wolf, there is no need to worry. We are just passing by to gather some information from God King Madman. As for the feud between you and him, it has nothing to do with us. We will not interfere. That was right. The man surrounded by frost was the Emperor God of Iron Wolf Glacier Clan. Tsinbai Xin's reply made Emperor God Iron Wolf relax, and he nodded at them gratefully. Then, Emperor God Iron Wolf turned his head and looked at God King Madman coldly. He roared, Nie Mingxi, tell me the truth about what happened that day. Yes. God King Madman was terrified, and he told him the truth about what happened that day. After listening to God King Madman's story, Emperor God Iron Wolf's face grew gloomy, and he said coldly, "Tell me the boys' whereabouts as well as Dai Yunlei and Jiang Yunxi's whereabouts truthfully." Hearing Emperor God Iron Wolf's request, God King Madman looked bitter and put on a difficult expression. Simbai Shin and the other two asked about the same thing, and it was hard for him to answer. He couldn't answer earlier. If he were to answer now, wouldn't he offend Simbai Shin and the other two? Then, God King Madman looked bitter and said, "Emperor God Iron Wolf, I really can't answer your question. I don't know their whereabouts. Just now, the few territorial masters asked me to. I really don't know where they went." Hearing God King Madman's reply, Emperor God Iron Wolf's face grew grave, and he let out a chilly aura. He roared, "Humph! I'll give you 3 breaths time to consider. If you don't answer me, don't blame me for being ruthless. 3, 2, 1. So where are they?" Emperor God Iron Wolf's aggressiveness and straightforwardness made God King Madman look bitter. He said, "Emperor God Iron Wolf, I really don't know. If I knew, I wouldn't dare to not tell you." Before God King Madman could finish, Emperor God Iron Wolf's gaze turned cold. He raised his hand and slapped. "You don't know how to appreciate favors. Then, you shall be buried with Lin, and the others." Just as Emperor God Iron Wolf was talking, there was a huge and terrifying palm shadow that drowned God King Madman. Chapter 33:06. Home. It was a loud bang. At the same time, the ground shook and there was a terrifying sandstorm. After a while, the sandstorm dissipated and there was a bottomless pit in the ground. Looking at such a scene, the surrounding people shivered and there was a flash of shock in their eyes. Under Emperor God Tai Lang's palm, Madman Supreme God had turned into dust and not even his bones were left behind. After killing Madman Supreme God with one palm, Emperor God Tai Lang looked at the rest and said coldly, "I will give you a chance. Tell me where Dai Yunlei, Jiang Yunxi, and the rest are, and I will spare your lives." Hearing Madman Supreme God's question, the rest of Madman Supreme God's sect looked bitter and panicked. Even Madman Supreme God didn't know. How would they know? Looking at everyone looking at one another and not replying, Emperor God Tai Lang's face grew grave. "Humph!" Emperor God Tai Lang was furious. He raised his right hand and wanted to kill Madman Supreme God's men. Following that, a huge palm shadow blasted towards the people of the eccentric divine sect, engulfing them. There was another loud bang. When a loud bang was heard, the huge Madman Supreme God sect was instantly flattened. Looking at Emperor God Tai Lang's action, Sinbai Shin and the other two didn't have any expression. "If so, let's leave." Seeing Madman Supreme God sect destroyed, Sinbai Shin and the other two didn't want to stay any longer. They turned and prepared to leave. As for Emperor God Tai Lang, they didn't want to interact with him. "3 territorial masters, please hold on." Seeing that Sinbai Shin and the other two were about to leave, Emperor God Tai Lang quickly stopped them and said, "I heard that Heaven Killer Association is well informed. Could you help me find out Mo Qingyun, Dai Yunlei, and Jiang Yunxi's whereabouts?" Hearing Emperor God Tai Lang's question, Sinbai Shin nodded and said, "Of course. Killer Association has always done things with money. Since Emperor God Tai Lang is taking care of our business, we are naturally willing to help." Territorial Master Sin, you are too courteous. Although Sinbai Shin was courteous, Emperor God Tai Lang didn't dare to put on airs. He smiled faintly. Territorial Master Sin, how much do you want to find out their whereabouts? You can tell me. All right. Sinbai Shin nodded and stated his price. In response to Sinbai Shin's offer, Emperor God Tai Lang took out the heaven crystal without hesitation and passed it to Sinbai Shin. He said, "In that case, I shall wait for your news." After receiving the heaven crystal that Emperor God Tai Lang handed over, Sinbai Shin didn't hide anything and said, "We still don't know the whereabouts of Dai Yunlei, Jiang Yunxi, and the others. However, we have Mo Qingyun's whereabouts. He is now at the old site of the West Sea Dragon Palace." West Sea Dragon Palace. Hearing what Sinbai Shin said, Emperor God Tai Lang creased his eyebrows and asked suspiciously, Could it be in the boundary sea between Sky Human Divine Region and Sky Demon Divine Region? Not bad. Sembaishi nodded and continued. Even though this kid's cultivation isn't high, he has extremely many means. Now that he's appeared in the Divine Realm's world-dividing sea, it isn't anything strange. Besides, I would like to remind Emperor God Tai Lang not to belittle him. Otherwise, you might suffer a loss in his hands. Hearing what Sembaishi said, Emperor God Tai Lang's expression changed. He cupped his hands and said, "Thank you for the reminder. I shall take my leave now." After Emperor God Tai Lang finished his words, his figure flashed, and he flew into the sky at lightning speed. As for what Sembaishi said, Emperor God Tai Lang ignored him. Looking at Emperor God Tai Lang, who was far away, Tai Lingyi smiled faintly and said, "Although Emperor God Tai Lang isn't considered strong among Emperor Gods, with his power, it won't be difficult for him to deal with Mo Qingyun. On top of that, with the people from Dark Heaven Holy Clan assisting Mo Qingyun will definitely die this time." Hearing what Tai Lingyi said, Sembaishi chuckled and nodded in agreement. Although Mo Qingyun had many tricks up his sleeves, and he controlled a few King God Realm ghosts, it wasn't enough to protect him. Hearing what Sembaishi and Tai Lingyi said, Zhou Huo creased his eyebrows and said, "Territorial Master, that kid has many tricks up his sleeves. It's hard to guarantee that he doesn't have other trump cards. Why don't we go together to prevent any unforeseen events from happening?" Hearing Zhou Hulua's suggestion, Sembaishi immediately shook his head and rejected. This kid is related to 10,000 Demon Emperor Palace, and he is valued by the Palace Master of 10,000 Demon Emperor Palace. It is rumored that the Palace Master's cultivation level has already reached the threshold of Ultimate God. Such a person isn't someone we can deal with. Dark Heaven Holy Clan has already agreed to hand Mo Qingyun over to us after they capture him. It's better that we don't get involved in this matter. What we need to do now is to look for Jiang Yunxi and the others. If we can find them, we will have more trump cards to deal with Mo Qingyun. Tai Lingyi and Tai Lingyi nodded and didn't want to get involved in this matter. Then, the three of them left on the flying boat to check on Jiang Yunxi and the others. In the West Sea Dragon Palace, after putting away the demons, Mo Qingyun took out the Origin Divine Mirror and prepared to check on Enchun and the others' whereabouts. Mo Qingyun raised his hand, and the Origin Divine Mirror fell into his hand, exuding a mysterious aura. "Appear!" Mo Qingyun focused his mind and condensed a stream of Origin energy into the Origin Divine Mirror. Then, Mo Qingyun's consciousness was pulled into the mirror, and an image of the West Sea Dragon Palace appeared. My current location is north of the West Sea Dragon Palace. This is where the corpses are piled up. Mo Qingyun identified his location briefly and began to search for Enchun and the others' whereabouts. After searching for Enchun and the others' whereabouts, Mo Qingyun gathered a wisp of their origin energy through soul sensing and integrated it into the Origin Divine Mirror. As their origins fused into the Origin Heaven Spying Mirror, there was a connection between them and the Origin Heaven Spying Mirror. Enchun is in the east, and Ao Lai is in the west. The Origin Divine Mirror had a connection with the two, so Mo Qingyun quickly found out their approximate location. After knowing their approximate location, Mo Qingyun activated the Origin Divine Mirror to check on their specific information. Under Mo Qingyun's control, the scene in the Origin Divine Mirror began to change and shift rapidly. Soon, the area where Enchun was and his current situation clearly appeared before Mo Qingyun's eyes. At this moment, Enchun was chasing a godly king powerhouse until his body collapsed. From the looks of it, he wasn't in any danger at all, so there was no need to worry too much. Seeing that Enchun wasn't in danger, Mo Qingyun activated the Origin Divine Mirror to check on Ao Lai's current situation. Soon, Ao Lai and his surroundings appeared before Mo Qingyun's eyes. Previously, Ao Lai's face was pale and his body was covered in injuries. A small portion of his dragon scales had fallen off, and he looked extremely miserable. Not only that, but there were many experts surrounding him not far away. Seeing such a situation, Mo Qingyun was shocked. Ao Lai's situation wasn't too good. Chapter 3307. Ao Lai is in danger. Seeing Ao Lai's condition, Mo Qingyun's face tensed up, and he felt a strong sense of worry. Ao Lai's cultivation was the lowest among the people who had entered the West Sea Dragon Palace. Now that he was seriously injured, his situation was even worse. If Mo Qingyun didn't save him, Ao Lai wouldn't be able to hold on for long, given his current condition. I have to save Ao Lai immediately. After making up his mind, Mo Qingyun's figure flashed as he rushed towards Ao Lai's location. Mo Qingyun's figure flashed, and he was thousands of miles away from a bone mountain. Under the guidance of the Origin sky-peaking mirror, Mo Qingyun went straight without taking any detours. About an hour later, Mo Qingyun found Ao Lai hiding in a corner at the westernmost part of the West Sea Dragon Palace. He was recuperating with a tense expression. Mo Qingyun frowned when he sensed Ao Lai's aura fluctuation. He truly understood the condition of his injuries and thought to himself, "The situation is very serious. If I had been a little late, even if I saved him, his cultivation foundation would have been destroyed." Ao Lai was not only seriously injured at the moment, but his cultivation base was also very unstable. He could harm his cultivation foundation at any time. "Who is it?" Sensing Mo Qingyun's approach, Ao Lai's expression trembled, and he opened his eyes in shock. When he saw Mo Qingyun, his expression relaxed, and his heart that was hanging in the air finally relaxed. In his opinion, since Mo Qingyun had arrived, his crisis had been resolved. "Benefactor, you're here." Seeing Mo Qingyun approach, Ao Lai didn't dare delay and immediately stood up to salute him. Seeing Ao Lai's actions, Mo Qingyun hurriedly waved his hand and said, "No need to be so polite. Cultivate as soon as possible. With me here, no one will disturb you." Although Mo Qingyun really wanted to ask how Ao Lai's injuries came about, he suppressed his curiosity after considering that Ao Lai's injuries were too serious. It wouldn't be too late to ask after Ao Lai stabilized his injuries. Upon hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Ao Lai didn't argue. He nodded and immersed himself in cultivation. Ao Lai immersed himself in cultivation. Mo Qingyun sat beside him, guarding him as he healed. While Mo Qingyun was guarding him, he summoned the ghost god Yang Guolong to intimidate the people chasing after Ao Lai. After a period of time, a burst of noise attracted Mo Qingyun's attention. "That little demon sure knows how to hide. I can't find it. His injuries are very serious. How far did he run? He must be hiding nearby. What do you think we should do if he asks Mo Qingyun for protection?" That Mo Qingyun's background seems to be quite powerful. He won't be easy to deal with. Indeed, we should be careful. What's there to be afraid of? In this Western Sea Dragon Palace, as long as we are careful, no one will discover us. While everyone was discussing, they saw Mo Qingyun and Mo Qingyun who was cultivating and healing his injuries. When they saw Mo Qingyun, they revealed surprised expressions and were instinctively stunned. They were just casually talking. They didn't expect Mo Qingyun to really come. Although they said that they didn't take Mo Qingyun seriously, that was not the case. For a moment, everyone looked at each other, not knowing what to do. That enchantment doesn't seem to be here. Without enchantment here, Mo Qingyun is nothing to worry about. Don't be careless. Although enchantment isn't here, Mo Qingyun has a God King realm ghost god. This kid actually has such means, as expected of a junior from a large faction. Looking at Yang Guolong at the side, everyone felt a wave of fear. At this moment, just as everyone was feeling apprehensive, another group of people arrived. Looking at the arrival of this group of people, the people surrounding Mo Qingyun and Jian Wushuang revealed a fearful expression. This group of people was led by Jin Wuyin from the Heavenly Demon Divine Territories Heaven Killer Association. "It's so lively here." Jin Wuyin smiled faintly when he arrived and glanced at everyone. Mo Qingyun did not respond to Jin Wuyin's words. He just sat where he was calmly. Although the battle prowess he possessed was sufficient to deal with the people before him, killing them was not an easy task. He had just arrived at the heavenly demon divine territory and did not want to expose his trump card. It was better to keep a low profile. Jean Wuyin looked at everyone and smiled faintly at Mo Qingyun. Mo Qingyun, you can't protect him alone. Hand him over, and we won't make things difficult for you. Hearing Jean Wuyin's words, the people surrounding them nodded one after another to express their stance. Hearing this, Mo Qingyun slowly raised his head and looked at Jean Wuyin. He said, "Who do you think you are? Can you represent everyone's opinion?" Mo Qingyun did not want to fight, but it did not mean that he was afraid of Jean Wuyin and the others. He just did not want to cause trouble. It was impossible for Jean Wuyin to order him to do anything. Mo Qingyun's domineering attitude made Jean Wuyin's expression change. A cold light flashed in his eyes. Mo Qingyun had repeatedly contradicted him and made him lose face. He had crossed the line a little. Bang! At this moment, just as Jean Wuyin was about to fly into a rage, a loud sound came from nearby. As soon as the sound was heard, everyone saw a figure flying in their direction. Get lost, don't block the way. When the figure flew over, an irritable reprimand entered everyone's ears. Hearing these words, everyone's expression changed, and their brows furrowed tightly. And Chun was here. Soon, under everyone's shocked gazes, Chun arrived beside Mo Qingyun. Seeing that Chun also arrived, everyone's fear of Mo Qingyun went up a level. With two middle-stage Divine King powerhouses joining hands, Mo Qingyun's combat power could be said to be very terrifying. Although they had more people on their side, forcing Mo Qingyun and the others into a corner, they would also have to pay the price. That kind of price might not be what they could bear. Just as everyone was fearful and at a loss on what to do, one powerful aura after another approached. Sensing these powerful auras, everyone's expression changed again, knowing that the other party had arrived. The Blood-Eye Demon King came with the Blood-Eye Demon Palace's powerhouses. Sensing the arrival of the Blood-Eye Demon King and the others, Jean Wuyin's face darkened. He urged Mo Qingyun. Mo Qingyun, Li Ichi's temper isn't like mine. Now, I'll give you one last chance. If you don't want to be the target of public criticism, hand over the people around you. Hearing Jean Wuyin's words, Mo Qingyun sneered and said disdainfully, "Don't you have any other ability apart from talking nonsense? Wanting to hand over AO lie? This is absolutely impossible. If you want to make a move, do it quickly. Don't continue to talk nonsense." When Mo Qingyun's words came out, the surrounding people's expressions changed greatly. They instinctively acted as if they were facing a great enemy. Facing such a situation, Mo Qingyun was actually still so arrogant. Could it be that he had some powerful reliance? Chapter 33:08. So there's another demon god. Looks like this is what you're counting on. As Mo Qingyun and Jean Wuyin faced off, a wild voice came from behind them. As the voice was transmitted, Mo Qingyun saw the Blood-Eye Demon King and his men arrive. Arriving beside Jean Wuyin, the Blood-Eye Demon King's face darkened. Jean Wuyin, this guy's too arrogant. There's nothing to say to him. Let's capture him together and see if he can still be so arrogant. Hearing the Blood-Eye Demon King's words, Jean Wuyin hesitated as if he was tempted. Just then, as Jean Wuyin hesitated, his expression suddenly brightened, as if he had thought of something happy. Immediately, Jean Wuyin shook his head. There's no hurry to deal with this guy. There's no need for us to trouble ourselves. Someone will deal with him later. Hearing Jean Wuyin's words, the Blood-Eye Demon King frowned, some doubt in his eyes. In his opinion, based on the current situation, Mo Qingyun's group of 3 was doomed. If he missed this opportunity, it would be difficult to find another one. However, due to his trust in Jean Wuyin, the Blood-Eye Demon King did not make a move. Let's go. Having decided not to attack Mo Qingyun, Jean Wuyin did not want to stay any longer and hinted to the Blood-Eye Demon King. Following that, the two groups of people left, leaving the surrounding people dumbfounded. These two groups of people had arrived in such an aggressive manner. Why did they suddenly leave? This was too strange. Seeing Jin Wuyin and his men leave, Mo Qingyun's face turned cold. He glanced at the others and said, "Both parties have left. Do you still want to stay? Do you think you're stronger than them? Or do you think I won't attack you?" Hearing Mo Qingyun's threatening words, the surrounding people panicked and couldn't help but look at each other. The sudden departure of Jin Wuyin and his men made them fear Mo Qingyun to the extreme. They felt that there must be a reason for the two parties' abnormal behavior. And the reason for this was definitely because Mo Qingyun had a secret that they were afraid of. The crowd whispered among themselves for a while, then left one after another with a sense of unwillingness. Seeing that everyone had left, Mo Qingyun's expression relaxed slightly, and the worry in his heart was slightly relieved. There were over a dozen God King experts gathered here earlier. If they were to fight, he would probably have to use all his trump cards. However, once he used up all his trump cards, he would have one less thing to rely on, and the situation would become extremely bad. Roar! At this moment, the aura of A.O. Lai, who was cultivating at the side, suddenly skyrocketed. Then, an enormous golden dragon shadow erupted from A.O. Lai's body. At the same time, A.O. Lai's aura began to rise rapidly. Sensing A.O. Lai's situation, Mo Qingyun's expression was slightly shocked as he said, "Great Tao Origin Inheritance." After checking on A.O. Lai's condition, Mo Qingyun was both surprised and puzzled. At this moment, the Great Tao origin on A.O. Lai's body did not seem to be a simple type. Instead, it was more or less mixed together. Ordinary Great Tao origins, Grand Primordium Great Tao origins, and Grand Beginning Great Tao origins. Gentleness? Sensing A.O. Lai's Great Tao origins, Mo Qingyun was extremely puzzled. He shook his head and said, "No, the number of Great Tao origins on A.O. Lai's body has reached at least 10. Moreover, the level of these Great Tao origins are all at the Grand Primordium Great Tao origin level. This is really too strange." At this moment, Mo Qingyun's heart was filled with intense puzzlement. While Mo Qingyun was puzzled, and Chun was shocked as he exclaimed, Ancient gods. Ancient gods actually exist." Hearing Inchin's expression, Mo Qingyun was shocked as he looked at Inchin curiously. Looking at Inchin's behavior, he seemed to know some secrets. Under Mo Qingyun's gaze, Inchin thought for a moment and said, "In my memory, there is some fragmented information about the legends of the ancient gods. Rumor has it that before the worlds were shattered, there were a huge hole called the God Realm. At this time, the Great Tao was complete, and there were a total of 3,000 Great Tao origins. In addition to the Great Tao origins, there were also many minor Tao and heterodox Tao. As long as one's aptitude was high enough, one could comprehend several Great Tao origins. It was a combination of Great Tao, minor Tao, and heterodox Tao origins. In the records of later generations, the people of the God Realm during this time were called ancient gods. After listening to Inchin's explanation, Mo Qingyun nodded in understanding as the doubts in his heart were resolved. He had not expected that there would be such secrets. At the same time that Mo Qingyun understood, he also had some doubts. He said, "According to what you said, the various realms today were formed by the division of the God Realm. In that case, can one comprehend many Great Tao origins during cultivation now?" Hearing Mo Qingyun's question, A.O. Lai shook his head and said, "I don't know about this either. There's no information about this in my memory. I think it should be impolite. At least in my memory of the Heaven Realm, there's no such expert." After hearing such an answer from Inchin, Mo Qingyun looked at A.O. Lai with an obvious change in his gaze. He said, "If that's the case, we can only wait until A.O. Lai finishes his cultivation and ask him about his situation. If he really obtained the inheritance of the ancient gods, then we have to tell him to avoid using it as much as possible to avoid attracting the attention of some experts." One had to know that even the God Emperor experts had only comprehended one Great Tao origin. At least as far as Mo Qingyun knew, before Chu Jiangshao broke through to the God Realm, he had only comprehended one great Tao origin. Everyone only comprehended one great Tao origin, but Ao Lai had comprehended many. He did not expect it to be difficult to attract attention. For God Emperor and God Venerable experts, this was a way for them to become stronger. Time passed bit by bit. After waiting for several hours, Ao Lai's cultivation finally ended. At this moment, Ao Lai's aura finally stabilized and reached the peak of the heavenly god realm. Not only that, after refining some of the inheritance he had obtained, Ao Lai's injuries had also recovered by more than half. Benefactor, Senior and Shun, thank you for protecting me. Ao Lai withdrew from his cultivation. With a face full of gratitude, he bowed to Mo Qingyun and Inshun. In response to Ao Lai's gratitude, Mo Qingyun waved his hand indifferently and said, "There's no need to thank me. Tell me about your current situation. Also, tell me something about the ancient gods," Lin Feng said. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Ao Lai's eyes widened. He thought that he had heard wrongly. Mo Qingyun actually knew that he had obtained the inheritance of the ancient gods. Chapter 3309. Yes. Although Ao Lai was surprised, he still answered and explained his situation. Benefactor's guess is right. I have indeed obtained an ancient god's inheritance from a dragon clan's ancient god. This dragon clan's ancient god had made a mistake and was punished to reflect in the god domain's boundary. Because of this, he was lucky enough to avoid the divine world's great war. Although he avoided the divine world's great war, his small world was separated from his body, and he was trapped here for too long, causing his god force to be exhausted. Before he died, he left behind a simple origin source inheritance, which is also the inheritance that I obtained. After listening to Ao Lai's explanation, Mo Qingyun's understanding of the ancient gods increased greatly. At the same time, some doubts arose in Mo Qingyun's heart. Small world? Does the fortune mainland I condense also belong to a small world? According to Ao Lai, in the era of the ancient gods, only those who had reached the God Master realm could establish a chaos origin small world. Based on my previous cultivation, I couldn't meet this condition. If that's the case, what is the fortune mainland? The fortune mainland I can condense has a lot to do with the fortune gate. What is its origin? Originally, Mo Qingyun had thought that he already had some clues about the fortune gate's origin. Now, after listening to Ao Lai's explanation, some doubts arose in his heart, as if it was not what he had guessed. Based on the current information, the fortune gate he had obtained seemed to be related to the ancient gods. There must be some secrets that he hadn't touched upon yet. Forget it. I won't think about it anymore. The more he thought about it, the more confused he became. Mo Qingyun shook his head and discarded the distracting thoughts in his mind. Without thinking about the origins of the Gate of Creation, Mo Qingyun asked curiously, Ao Lai, is there anything about the Western Sea Divine Dragon Palace in the inheritance you obtained? No. Ao Lai shook his head. Hearing such an answer from Ao Lai, Mo Qingyun was a little disappointed. If he was not mistaken, there should be no more treasures in the Western Sea Dragon Palace. Let's leave. Thinking that the West Sea Dragon Palace didn't have any treasures, Mo Qingyun didn't wish to stay any longer. He rushed towards the exit. On the way to the exit, Mo Qingyun and the other two met many people who seemed to be preparing to leave as well. A short while later, Mo Qingyun and the other two exited the West Sea Dragon Palace and saw a large group of people gathered outside. Mo Qingyun scanned the crowd and saw many familiar faces. Someone from the Profound Heaven Holy Clan? Someone from the Dark Heaven Holy Clan? Why are they here? And God Emperors. So many God Emperor experts. Why are there so many God Emperor experts? Are they here for the ancient gods? Seeing the current situation, Mo Qingyun was shocked and felt a strong sense of unease. In his opinion, the ancient gods' inheritance must have been the reason why so many emperor gods had appeared. He naturally wouldn't think that the emperor gods had come because of him. Mr. Mo, seeing Mo Qingyun come out of the West Sea Dragon Palace, Kong Xuanyue's beautiful eyes trembled and a strong sense of shock emerged in them. They had chased in Wuye and the others all the way here and didn't know their intentions. They didn't expect that in Wuye and the others had come here to deal with Mo Qingyun. Hearing Kong Xuanyue's words, the people from the profound Heaven Holy clan all looked at Mo Qingyun. Looking at Kong Xianyun and the other women, Mo Qingyun nodded humbly as a greeting. Xianyue, he's the one who entered Ancestor Thousand Illusions' small world with you? A middle-aged woman beside Kong Xianyue looked at Mo Qingyun curiously with a look of interest. Hearing the middle-aged woman's question, Kong Xianyue nodded honestly and said, Elder Lanyue, he's Mo Qingyun. He was the one who helped me enter the Ghost Gate Divine Sovereign's ruins and brought me into Ancestor Thousand Illusions' small world. Elder Lanyue, the people from the Dark Heaven Holy clan have come. They must be here to harm him. Can you protect him? Kong Xuanyue's request made Kong Lanyue frown, and a trace of embarrassment flashed in his eyes. Right now, the people who wanted to deal with Mo Qingyun weren't just the Dark Heaven Holy clan. There were several other forces. For example, the Heaven Killer Association, the Blood-Eyed Devil Palace, and even the Iron Wolf Glacier clan's God Emperor, Iron Wolf. Although the strength of these forces wasn't as strong as the profound Heaven Holy clan, they were still very terrifying when added together. While Kong Lanyue was hesitating, Kong Ruoyi, who was beside him, said, This child is fated with Ancestor Thousand Illusions and has helped Xian you several times. We owe him a favor, so helping him this time is only right. Hearing Kong Ruoyi's words, Kong Lanyue nodded and decided to protect Mo Qingyun a little. While Mo Qingyun was talking with the people from the profound Heaven Holy clan, the people from the other forces were all looking at him with rapt attention. At this moment, an old man from the Dark Heaven Holy clan looked at Nwuye curiously and said, Wuye, are these two the Mo Qingyun and Enshin you were talking about? Yes. Nwuye nodded. Hearing Nwuye's answer, the old man's deep eyes flashed with admiration. He said, The bloodline density of these two is not inferior to yours. If they undergo bloodline awakening, the purity of their bloodline will rise to another level. Especially the little guy called Mo Qingyun. He's just a great celestial, but he can make a divine king willingly submit. He's not simple. The old man's words of praise made the faces of Nwuye and the others darken immediately. From the old man's expression, it seemed like he didn't want to punish Mo Qingyun and Nwuye. He even wanted to nurture them. This wasn't an outcome they wanted to see. Immediately, Tao said anxiously, Elder Dark Sorcerer Star, we don't know where these two came from. We can't let our guard down just because their bloodline is pure. I think we should capture them and bring them back to the clan to slowly interrogate them. We should force them to hand over the inheritance of the demonic divine sovereign. Hearing Tao's suggestion, a young woman beside Dark Sorcerer Star snorted coldly. They have our clan's bloodline, and their bloodline has reached the imperial level. They could be considered princes of our clan. Such geniuses who have obtained the inheritance of the demonic divine sovereign are extremely lucky. We should nurture them carefully. How can we use weapons against them? The young lady's words made Tao and the others' faces turn green and white. They never thought that Dark Sorcerer Star and Enchantment would think so highly of Mo Qingyun and Nwuye. If this was the case, it would be troublesome for them to deal with Mo Qingyun and Nwuye. Chapter 33:10. The situation doesn't seem right. Dark Heaven Holy Sect doesn't seem to have the intention to take action. Looking at Dark Heaven Holy Sect's attitude, Jin Wuyin creased his eyebrows, and he had a bad feeling. Previously, he had contacted Bai Xin and the others and found out that Dark Heaven Holy Sect wanted to take action against Mo Qingyun. Hence, when he had faced Mo Qingyun at West Sea Dragon Palace, he hadn't been in a hurry to deal with Mo Qingyun. However, he had never expected Dark Heaven Holy Sect's attitude to be like that. At the very least, the two elders from the Dark Heaven Holy clan seemed to think highly of Mo Qingyun and Li Wuyo when they saw them. Just as Jin Wuyin was distressed, He looked around and finally fixed his gaze on Emperor God Tai Lang. Just as Jin Wuyin was paying attention to Emperor God Tai Lang, Emperor God Tai Lang's body burst out with Emperor God aura and suppressed Emo Qingyun. He roared, "Kid, you killed a junior from my lineage and a few God King experts from my tribe. Today, I will tear you into pieces." Emperor God Tai Lang roared coldly. He moved and attacked Emo Qingyun. Looking at Emperor God Tai Lang's action, Jin Wuyin was less worried. Soon after, a satisfied smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. From his point of view, as Emperor God Tai Lang had taken action, Emo Qingyun was definitely going to die. Seeing Emperor God Tai Lang take action, Enchun looked solemn, and he immediately stood in front of Emo Qingyun. At this moment, Emo Qingyun's expression turned solemn as he struggled internally. Should he use Sealed Door or the trump card that Chu Jiangshao had given him, Origin of Supreme God Great Way? Stop! Presumptuous! Then, just as Emo Qingyun was hesitating, there were two cold roars. Two cold voices could be heard, and everyone saw two figures flashing towards Emperor God Tai Lang at lightning speed. When everyone recognized the two figures, they looked terrified and froze on the spot. The elders of the Dark Heavenly Holy Gate and the Kong Profound Heavenly Holy Gate are protecting Emo Qingyun. Emo Qingyun is indeed not simple to be able to obtain the protection of two elders. The Blood-Eyed Demon King is in trouble. With the Blood-Eyed Demon Palace's strength, they can't afford to offend these two races. It seems that Emo Qingyun is a direct descendant of the Divine Lord. There should be no mistake about it. Everyone came back to their senses and whispered to each other. While everyone was talking, Black Sorcerer Star and Kong Lanyue attacked together. They broke Emperor God Tai Lang's attack. Bang! A loud noise was heard. Then, they saw God Emperor Tai Lang being forced back by Black Sorcerer Xing and Kong LVU. Puff! After Emperor God Tai Lang stabilized his body, he spat out blood. His face was filled with shock, unwillingness, and fear. He Wuxing ignored Emperor God Tai Lang's feelings and shouted coldly, "Humph! I am here, and you dare to attack a junior of my race. Are you ignoring me, or do you think that the Dark Heavenly Holy Gate is easy to bully? I don't care what Emo Qingyun has done to your race. From now on, we will write it off. If you dare to attack him again, I will destroy the Iron Wolf Glacier race." He Wuxing's warning made Emperor God Tai Lang's face turn green and white. As soon as Black Sorcerer Star finished speaking, Kong Lanyue looked at him with a strange light in his eyes. He heard from Kong Xianyue and the other girls that the Dark Heavenly Holy Gate was here to harm Emo Qingyun. Now that Emperor God Tai Lang was attacking Emo Qingyun, He Wuxing was protecting him. It was too strange. Although he didn't understand, Kong Lanyue didn't think too much about it. He looked at Emperor God Tai Lang coldly and said, "My attitude is the same. If you dare to attack Emo Qingyun, you'll have to consider the anger of my race. Of course, if you think that you can ignore the Dark Heavenly Holy Gate and Kong Xian Heaven Holy Gate, you can try." Hearing what He Wuxing and Kong Lanyue said, Emperor God Tai Lang's face turned pale and cold sweat broke out on his forehead. This is too much. Although the Iron Wolf Glacier race was a little famous in the Sky Human Divine region, compared to the Dark Heavenly Holy Gate and Kong Xian Heaven Holy Gate, it was like a firefly compared to the moon. I don't dare. Although Emperor God Tai Lang was unhappy and unwilling, he still took a step back and expressed his stance. He had to lower his head in the face of the situation. After expressing his stance, Emperor God Tai Lang didn't stay and left immediately. Seeing Emperor God Tai Lang leave, Jin Wuyin creased his eyebrows again and clenched his fists. He claimed to be flawless, but this time he had completely miscalculated. Seeing that his plan had failed, Jin Wuyin didn't stay and immediately left with his men. Seeing Jin Wuyin leave with his men, Blood-Eyed Demon King didn't dare to stay and immediately left with his men. Previously, he had targeted Emo Qingyun and showed his killing intent to Emo Qingyun. Now, he was afraid that Emo Qingyun would take revenge on him. Looking at the current situation, it wouldn't be difficult for Emo Qingyun to kill him. Most importantly, with the power of Blood-Eye Demon Palace. Even if he was killed, the people from Blood-Eye Demon Palace wouldn't dare to take revenge for him. Seeing Jin Wuyin and the others leave, the others didn't stay and left. Before long, only Mo Qingyun's group, Kong Xian Heaven's group, and Diablo Heavenly Holy Gates group were left. Thank you, seniors, for protecting me. Looking at Black Sorcerer Xing and Kong Lanyue, Mo Qingyun humbly thanked them. Black Sorcerer Xing didn't care about Mo Qingyun's gratitude. He waved his hand and said, "Little fella, the two of you are talented and have great potential. It's a pity that you continue to wander outside. Return to the clan with me. I'll report this matter to the clan leader. He'll definitely focus on cultivating you." Hearing Black Sorcerer Xing's words, Anwulia and the others' faces turned pale and they gritted their teeth in anger. In their opinion, if they allowed Mo Qingyun and Kong Lanyue to return, it would be difficult for them to do anything. Most importantly, with Mo Qingyun and Kong Lanyue's talent and the inheritance of the supreme god of the Ghost Gate, they would soon surpass them. They couldn't tolerate this. Feeling the gazes of Anwulia and the others, Mo Qingyun thought for a moment and said, "Thank you, seniors, for your kindness. I'll remember it. But I still have important matters to attend to. I'm afraid I can't return with you. Once I'm done with my matters, I'll head to the dark heavenly holy gate." Mo Qingyun's reply surprised Black Sorcerer Xing. He found it hard to believe. In his opinion, if it was an ordinary junior, they would have accepted his promise without hesitation. Even Anwulia and the others wouldn't have been able to refuse. He didn't expect Mo Qingyun to reject him so decisively. This showed how extraordinary he was. Soon after, he became more optimistic about Mo Qingyun. Fupin Chinese. Chapter 33:11. If that's the case, contact me after you're done with your business. Although Black Sorcerer Xing was surprised by Mo Qingyun's idea, he didn't force him. He thought that Mo Qingyun must have something important to deal with since he rejected him so decisively. Mo Qingyun and Black Sorcerer Xing were able to grow to such a level even though they were wandering outside. He didn't need to worry about them. After agreeing to Mo Qingyun's request, Black Sorcerer Xing quickly formed a seal with his hands and formed a Dao origin. He said, "This is one of my Dao origin. If you activate it, it'll be equivalent to me attacking with all my strength. Take it with you. It'll be safer for you." Mo Qingyun was pleasantly surprised by Black Sorcerer Xing's actions. He accepted it and said, "Thank you, senior. I'll remember your kindness." Black Sorcerer Xing didn't take Mo Qingyun's gratitude to heart. He took out a small black door and said, "This is a dark messenger door. Send your divine sense into it, and you'll be able to communicate with me. After you're done with your business, you can contact me through it. I'll bring you back to the clan." After explaining the function of the dark messenger door, Black Sorcerer Xing handed it over to Mo Qingyun. Okay, Mo Qingyun didn't try to be pretentious and accepted it without hesitation. After giving Mo Qingyun some instructions, Black Sorcerer Xing didn't want to stay any longer. He said, "Since that's the case, we'll be returning to the clan. Be careful when you're outside." Okay, Mo Qingyun nodded. Then, Black Sorcerer Xing left with Anwulia and the others on a flying boat. Kong Xianyue and the other girls surrounded Mo Qingyun when they saw the people from the Dark Heaven Holy Gate leave. They looked at Mo Qingyun in surprise. At this moment, Mo Qingyun looked like a stranger to them. They had originally thought that the people from the Dark Sky Holy Sect had come to deal with Mo Qingyun. Who would have thought that Dark Sorcerer Star and Enchantment valued Mo Qingyun so much that they wanted to train him? Sensing the surprised gazes of the girls, Mo Qingyun shook his head with a bitter smile and said, "What's wrong? It's only been a few days, and you don't recognize me?" Hearing Mo Qingyun's question, Kong Xianyue and the other girls' faces changed slightly, and they all looked embarrassed. While Kong Xianyue and the other women were speechless, Kong Lanyue walked up and looked at Mo Qingyun with praise. "I didn't expect you to be praised by the Dark Sorcerer Star. It seems your safety is no longer a problem." Looking at Kong Lanyue standing in front of him, Mo Qingyun was filled with gratitude. He bowed slightly and cupped his hands, saying, "Thank you, Senior, for protecting me just now. No need to be so polite." Just like Dark Sorcerer Star, Kong Lanyue also waved his hand at Mo Qingyun's gratitude, saying, "I heard from Xianyue that you have a way to bring people into the Ghost Gate ruins. Can you bring us in to explore?" Kong Lanyue's request put Mo Qingyun in a difficult position. He didn't know how to answer. Bringing Kong Lanyue and the others into the Ghost Gate Divine Venerable's ruins would require the Fortune Mainland, which would expose some of his secrets. If he didn't know about the ancient god realm, Mo Qingyun might have agreed without hesitation, but now he was hesitating. Kong Lanyue and the other elders' experience was not something Kong Xianyue could compare to. If they saw the Fortune Mainland, it was hard to guarantee that they wouldn't overthink. Thinking of this, Mo Qingyun didn't want to take the risk. With an awkward expression, he said, "I won't hide it from Senior. When I brought Miss Xianyue into the Ghost Gate Divine Venerable's ruins, this junior used a life-saving trump card to transfer her to a foreign mainland. The last time I transferred her, I had to pay a price. I'm afraid I won't be able to do it again in a short time." Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, a trace of disappointment flashed across Kong Lanyue and the others' faces. However, they didn't force Mo Qingyun, only feeling a little regret. They didn't doubt Mo Qingyun's words, because in their understanding, Mo Qingyun had to pay a great price to use such a method. If that's the case, then forget it. Seeing that they couldn't enter the Ghost Gate Divine Venerable's ruins, Kong Lanyue didn't think too much about it. He looked at Mo Qingyun and said, "Mr. Mo, we are preparing to return to the profound Heaven Holy Clan. We heard that you're going to my clan to look for a good friend of yours. Would you be willing to travel with us?" Hearing Kong Lanyue's question, Mo Qingyun was overjoyed and nodded excitedly. "Then I'll have to trouble Senior." Traveling with Kong Lanyue and the others would not only save time, but also avoid a lot of trouble. Mo Qingyun wouldn't refuse such a thing. Knowing Mo Qingyun's thoughts, Kong Lanyue looked at Kong Lingxin and Kong Ruoyi and said, "Lingxin, Ruoyi, you two continue to guard the Ghost Gate Divine Venerable's ruins. Wait until I return to discuss with the Patriarch and Grand Elder. Then we'll think of a way to open the Ghost Gate Divine Venerable's ruins." Kong Lingxin and Kong Ruoyi nodded. Then, everyone split into two groups and went their separate ways. After separating from Kong Lingxin and Kong Ruoyi, Kong Lanyue took out a huge flying ship that exuded a terrifying pressure. "This is a divine venerable grade flying ship?" Seeing the flying ship Kong Lanyue took out, Mo Qingyun was shocked, his eyes wide open. He originally thought that the flying ship Kong Lanyue and the others were using should have reached the divine emperor grade. Riding on a god emperor grade flying ship should be one level faster than his sword shadow flying ship. He didn't expect that Kong Lanyue's flying ship would reach the divine venerable grade. While Mo Qingyun was shocked, he also felt some anticipation. He asked, "Senior, how long will it take to reach the profound Heaven Holy Clan on a divine venerable grade flying ship? If nothing happens along the way, we should be able to reach it within half a year." Kong Lanyue calmly answered Mo Qingyun's question, not thinking much of it. She felt that Mo Qingyun asked this because he missed his old friend and wanted to see her as soon as possible. In fact, this was the case. After being separated from Qianling Long for so long, Mo Qingyun really did miss her. "Let's go." As soon as Kong Lanyue said this, her figure floated and she landed on the flying ship. When Mo Qingyun and the others saw this, they followed closely and boarded the flying ship together. Once they were on the flying ship, Kong Lanyue said to Kong Xianin, "It will take some time to return to the clan. Xianin, take Mr. Mo to rest." "Yes." Kong Xianin nodded and walked in front of Mo Qingyun, making an inviting gesture. Mo Qingyun nodded and followed Kong Xianin into the cabin of the flying ship. Soon, under Kong Xuanin's guidance, Mo Qingyun arrived at a room. This room was very large. There was a bedroom, a study, a cultivation room, and everything one could think of. After bringing Mo Qingyun here, Kong Xianin didn't stay long and quickly left. After Kong Xianin left, Emo Qingyun didn't think much of it and directly immersed himself in cultivation. Chapter 33:12. Half a year's time passed quickly. Wild Sand, net the speed of the Empyrean level flying ship, was extremely fast. It only took half a year for everyone to arrive at the Profound Heaven Holy Clan. Entering the territory of the Profound Heaven Holy Clan, Kong Lanyue looked inside the cabin, the expression on his face changing a bit. During this half-year journey, Mo Qingyun did not come out once and was fully immersed in seclusion. Elder Lanyue, should we wake up Mr. Mo? Seeing Kong Lanyue's action, Kong Xianin, who was standing on his right, asked for his opinion. Kong Lanyue shook his head and said, "Wait first. From the aura he is emitting, he seems to be attacking the middle stage of the great divinity realm. Wait a few days before waking him up." When Kong Xianin and the other women heard this, surprise appeared on their pretty faces. Mo Qingyun was going to break through again? From the time they knew Mo Qingyun until now, it had been less than a year, but Mo Qingyun's cultivation had broken through one after another. It could be said that they had never seen or heard of such a cultivation speed. Although the women were shocked, they did not disturb Mo Qingyun and quietly waited outside the flying ship. Under the waiting of the women, the aura emitted by Mo Qingyun began to grow stronger and stronger. Seeing this, the expressions of Kong Xianin and the other women immediately became tense. Under the gazes of the girls, huge threads of law condensed in the air above the cabin. Almost in the blink of an eye, the number of threads of law above the flying ship reached thousands. 4,221 threads of law. Looking at the threads of law above the flying ship, Kong Lanyue's face was filled with shock. His beautiful eyes widened as he said, "Xianin, when you broke through to the early stage of the great divinity realm, how many threads of law condensed?" Replying to Elder Lanyue, "Less than 3,000. Kong Xuanin's beautiful eyes trembled slightly as she answered Kong Lanyue in a low voice. In the same realm, the number of threads of law that Mo Qingyun condensed was actually 1.5 times hers. More importantly, the volume of the threads of law that Mo Qingyun condensed was much larger than hers. This kid is truly a monster. After hearing Kong Xuanin's answer, Kong Lanyue exclaimed in surprise. No wonder he can fight a heavenly god with a mere early-stage great god cultivation. His foundation and potential are too terrifying. In addition to his bloodline talent, if he returns to the Dark Heaven Holy Clan, he will definitely amaze the world and soar to the sky. Kong Xianin and the other girls nodded in agreement. Under the astonished gazes of the girls, the number of law threads above the flying boat began to increase. Still increasing? Seeing Mo Qingyun condense law threads at a speed that was about to break through 5,000, Kong Lanyue's pupils trembled. Generally, people with late-stage great deity realm cultivation base could only condense the number of law threads to reach the point of 5,000. After a short while, under the shocked gazes of the girls, the number of law threads condensed by Mo Qingyun finally stopped increasing. 8,000. Seeing the number of law threads condensed by Mo Qingyun, even with Kong Lanyue's mental state, he couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. Even a quasi-heavenly god can only condense this many law threads. In addition to his powerful law threads, the current him can fight a mid-stage heavenly god with his most basic strength. Under the shocked gazes of the girls, the law threads in the air suddenly disappeared, and the aura also dissipated. Before long, Mo Qingyun walked out of the flying boat and cupped his hands towards the girls. "I've kept you all waiting. It's fine." Kong Lanyue waved his hand carelessly and put away the Empyrean level flying boat, saying, "Mr. Mo, the clan has a rule that non-members of our clan cannot enter the royal bloodline Holy Land without a special summons. Let Xianin take you to the subsidiary territory first, and when we are done with the arrangements, we will welcome you to the royal bloodline Holy Land as a guest. Is that all right?" Mo Qingyun wasn't surprised by Kong Lanyue's words, nor did he feel displeased. If it weren't for Kong Lanyue leading the way, he would have needed at least several years to enter the profound Heaven Holy clan, perhaps even longer. Now that he had arrived ahead of time, he wasn't in a hurry. Going to the subsidiary territory first was also good. He could first understand the profound Heaven Holy clan and familiarize himself with them before going to the Royal Bloodline Holy Land. He didn't want to suddenly go to the Royal Bloodline Holy Land and provoke some trouble. If that's the case, then I'll have to trouble you all. Mo Qingyun had a calm expression as he cupped his hands together towards Kong Lanyue and the others in thanks. In response to Mo Qingyun's gratitude, Kong Lanyue indifferently nodded. He said to Kong Xianin, "The Deep Fragrance Dynasty isn't far from the Royal Bloodline Holy Land. You take Mr. Mo to the Deep Fragrance Dynasty. Once I discuss this with the Patriarch, it will be more convenient to bring Mr. Mo to the Royal Bloodline Holy Land as a guest." Yes. Kong Xianin nodded and made an inviting gesture towards Mo Qingyun, saying, "Mr. Mo, please follow me." Mo Qingyun nodded and said goodbye to Kong Lanyue and the others before leaving with Kong Xianin. Deep Fragrance Dynasty, Imperial Capital. In a magnificent palace, a woman wearing a golden robe looked down at everyone with a dignified expression. This person was the Empress of the Deep Fragrance Dynasty, Xiang Lingyi. Xiang Lingyi glanced at everyone and said in a deep voice, "Everyone, just now, Elder Lanyue of the Royal Bloodline sent me a sound transmission saying that an important guest is coming and asked us to entertain him. I wonder which one of you is willing to receive him. This old subject is willing to go. This husband is willing to go. Mother Empress, this child is willing to share your worries." The people of the palace stood up one by one. Seeing everyone's performance, Xiang Lingyi nodded in satisfaction and considered who to send forward. At this time, a young man in a purple robe walked out with a chubby body and said, "Mother Empress, since an important guest has come, we naturally can't simply entertain him. Instead, we should take him on a tour of the dynasty. In the entire Deep Fragrance Dynasty, this son believes that no one can compare to him when it comes to touring. This son requests Mother Empress to let me receive the important guest." Hearing this young man's words, the people of the palace began to look at each other with worried expressions. Prince Xiang Xiong is causing trouble again. Isn't it bad to let him receive the important guest? Prince Xiang Xiong has nothing to do and is causing trouble. What if he offends the important guest? Everyone don't panic. The Empress will make a decision. It's impossible to let Prince Xiang Xiong receive the important guest. The ministers discussed in low voices. Under everyone's nervous gazes, Xiang Lingyi hesitated for a moment and said, "Xiong is right. Since an important guest has come, we naturally have to take him on a tour. With Xiong-er's familiarity with the dynasty, it is indeed a good choice to let him receive the important guest. If that's the case, then let Xiong receive the important guest." Hearing Xiang Lingyi's decision, the people of the palace were stunned. Something was going to happen. Fupi in Chinese. Chapter 33:13. Kongxiang Dynasty, Imperial City Gate. A plump young man in purple robes stood proudly on the city wall, gazing into the distance. Beside the purple-robed youth stood a group of armored soldiers. They exuded an aura as strong as a mountain. This group of people was in charge of welcoming Mo Qingyun, Xiang Xiong, and the others. Xiang Xiong and the others' appearance on the city wall quickly attracted the attention of the surrounding people, including some who were hostile. While everyone was paying attention to Xiang Xiong and the others, a young girl in a female dress walked over. She looked at Xiang Xiong with disdain and said, "Brother Xiong, patrolling the city isn't something you should do. You should be in charge of a cabinet. Things like stabilizing the country and expanding the territory should be done by us sisters." Hearing the girl in green's words, Xiang Xiong's face became ashen, and he gave off a wave of hostility. "Imperial Sister Xiangfu, that's not right. The Empress has already given an imperial decree. From today onwards, men will also have the right to inherit the throne. Since I'm qualified to inherit the throne, what's wrong with patrolling the city?" Xiang Xiong's rebuttal caused Xiang Fu's face to darken. Her gaze instantly turned cold. The founder of the Kongxiang dynasty didn't give birth to a male heir when she first established the dynasty. Therefore, the person who inherited her throne was one of her daughters. Because of this, there was an unwritten rule regarding the succession of the Kongxiang dynasty's throne. The throne could only be inherited by women. Who knew that because Xiang Lingyi favored Xiang Xiong too much, she actually changed the rule so that men were also qualified to inherit the throne. At this moment, while the two were quarreling, a quiet young girl walked up to the city wall. "Prince Xiong, you're really here. Lana has been looking for you for a long time." When the girl saw Xiang Xiong, her face was filled with joy. She quickly walked in front of Xiang Xiong. Xiang Xiong's face turned ashen when he saw the young girl's enthusiasm. He said, "Fang Shilan, how many times have I told you that I don't need women by my side?" Since young, Xiang Xiong had fought with his sisters for power. This made him instinctively hostile to women. Therefore, even though Fang Shilan was his fiancée, he still had some hostility towards her. Fang Shilan did not care about Xiang Xiong's words and attitude. She continued to smile and said, "Prince Xiong, you can treat Lan as a man. Isn't that fine?" "You?" Fang Shilan's reaction left Xiang Xiong speechless. The Fang Shilan in front of him was not only his fiancée, but also the daughter of the Kongxiang dynasty's prime minister. Although he didn't want to marry Fang Shilan, he didn't want to offend her too much. Seeing that Xiang Xiong had fallen silent, Fang Shilan smiled gleefully, as though she had won. Seeing Fang Shilan's actions, Xianfu was filled with disdain and disdain. A fresh flower stuck in cow dung. Xiang Xiong was already in a bad mood. Hearing Xiangfu's words, he was immediately displeased. He said angrily, "Xiangfu, what do you mean? Do you really think I, Xiang Xiong, am afraid of you?" Apologize to Fang Shilan immediately. Otherwise, don't blame me for being rude to you. Xiang Xiong's provocative words made Xiangfu somewhat disdainful. She sneered and said, "You?" Seeing that the situation was not right, Fang Shilan's pretty face tensed up. She revealed a worried expression and said, "Prince Xiong, Princess Fu, we are all family. Let's talk things out. Why must we fight until our faces are red?" Hearing Fang Shilan's words, Xiang Xiong's face darkened. He glared fiercely at Fang Shilan and said, "Are you stupid? She called you cow dung, and you are still pleading for her?" Fang Shilan was dumbfounded. Was Xiangfu scolding her? Not only was Fang Shilan dumbfounded, but Xiangfu was also stunned and speechless. With Xiang Xiong's EQ, there was actually a woman who liked him. At that moment, while everyone was in a daze, a few figures flew over rapidly. The voice leading the group belonged to a gorgeous woman in a white robe. The person behind the woman was a handsome black youth. His aura was refined and devilish. Behind the youth was a middle-aged man in black robes and a young man in golden armor. Both of them emitted a fierce aura. Seeing the arrival of these four people, Xiang Xiong and the others' expressions turned serious. They all turned to look at them. Xiang Xiong, prince of the Xiang dynasty, greets the distinguished guests. Seeing Mo Qingyun and the others arrive, Xiang Xiong's face was full of respect. He quickly bowed and greeted them. Seeing Xiang Xiong's actions, Xiangfu and the others did not dare to be negligent. They all bowed and greeted them. No need to be so polite. Kong Xianin casually waved her hand in response to Xiang Xiong and the others' actions. She pointed at Mo Qingyun and said, "This is young master Mo Qingyun. He is the distinguished guest you are going to entertain. Mr. Mo's status is distinguished. In the following days, you must serve him well. If you make him unhappy, don't blame me for being rude." Kong Xuanin's warning caused Xiang Xiong and the others' expressions to change drastically. Their eyes were filled with intense shock. From Kong Xuanin's words, they could clearly tell that Mo Qingyun's status was extraordinary. "We will definitely entertain Mr. Mo well." Hearing Kong Xuanin's warning, Xiang Xiong nervously promised. Seeing Xiang Xiong's attitude, Kong Xianin nodded with satisfaction. She turned to look at Mo Qingyun and said, "Mr. Mo, I will go back and report to Elder Kong Lanwei." In the following days, you can stay in the Xiong dynasty without worry. When there is news from the imperial bloodline Holy Land, I will come and take you there. Okay. Mo Qingyun nodded. After instructing Mo Qingyun, Kong Xianin did not stay any longer and directly left on the boat. After Kong Xianin left, Xiang Xiong and the others' expressions relaxed. The pressure on their bodies lessened a little. Although Kong Xuanin's cultivation was the same as theirs, her status was much higher than theirs. Mr. Mo, I have prepared a place for you to stay. Please come with me. Xiang Xiong calmed down and immediately bowed to Mo Qingyun. He respectfully led the way. Seeing Xiang Xiong's action, Xiang Fu knew why he came. It turned out that he came to take Mo Qingyun. Recalling Kong Xuanin's instructions from before, Xiang Fu's pretty face changed, and she hurriedly caught up to Mo Qingyun and said, "Young Master Mo, I'm Kong Xiang Dynasty's second princess, Xiang Fu. If you have any instructions, feel free to send someone to inform me, and I'll do my best to complete them for you." As Xian Fu spoke, she even cast a coquettish glance at Mo Qingyun, trying to curry favor with him. Hypocritical woman. Seeing Xiang Fu's action, Xiang Xiong disdainfully curled his lips. He walked to Mo Qingyun's side and whispered, "Mr. Mo, don't be deceived by Xiang Fu's appearance. This woman eats people without spitting out the bones. She is extremely vicious. You must be careful of her." Seeing Xiang Fu and Xiang Xiong's actions, Mo Qingyun revealed a curious expression. However, he did not say anything. Chapter 33:14. Outside a huge mansion, with Xiang Xiong leading the way, Mo Qingyun arrived. "Mr. Mo, please." Standing at the entrance of the mansion, Xiang Xiong made an inviting gesture, looking very respectful. Mo Qingyun nodded and followed Xiang Xiong into the mansion. The moment Xiang Xiong entered the residence, he began to instruct the servants. "In the following period of time, all of you must serve young Master Mo well. If young Master Mo is displeased in the slightest, this prince will definitely not spare you." Hearing Xiang Xiong's instructions, the servants nodded and went to arrange the accommodations for Mo Qingyun. After instructing the servants, Xiang Xiong returned to Mo Qingyun and said, "Mr. Mo, I'll accompany you to familiarize yourself with the mansion. See if there's anything you need. I'll have someone send it to you immediately." Mo Qingyun didn't reject Xiang Xiong's suggestion and nodded casually. Then, Mo Qingyun and Xiang Xiong strolled around the mansion. While Mo Qingyun was familiarizing himself with the mansion, a few beautiful girls came to his mansion. These young girls were all beautiful enough to topple cities. The young girl in the lead had a face that was somewhat similar to Xian Fu. The moment Mo Qingyun saw her, she could roughly guess her identity. She should be a princess. Mo Qingyun glanced at the girl briefly, then looked away and didn't pay attention to the girls. Seeing Xiang Xiong not far away, the girl smiled happily and quickly walked towards him. When she arrived in front of Xiang Xiong, the girl looked at Mo Qingyun and blinked mischievously. She said, "Brother Xiong, the Empress Mother said that an important guest has arrived. I think it must be this gentleman. Can you introduce me to him?" Hearing the girl's request, Xiang Xiong hesitated for a moment and began to introduce Mo Qingyun to her. He said, "This gentleman, Mo Qingyun, is the important guest we're receiving. Greetings, Mr. Mo." After learning about Mo Qingyun's identity from Xiang Xiong, the girl hurriedly bowed. Mo Qingyun casually waved his hand at the young lady's actions. After introducing Mo Qingyun to the girl, Xiang Xiong began to introduce the girl. "Mr. Mo, this is my sister, Xiang Yun." After knowing the girl's identity, Mo Qingyun didn't mind and only nodded indifferently. Seeing Mo Qingyun's attitude, Xiang Yun's beautiful brows furrowed, and her eyes flashed with displeasure. But very soon, Xiang Yun recovered her mischievous appearance, giving people a feeling of innocence. "Brother Emperor Xiong, a few sisters are looking for you. Quickly go over." Xiang Yun pointed at the girls at the side, and he urged Xiang Xiong. He couldn't wait to chase Xiang Xiong away. Hearing Xiang Yun's words, Xiang Xiong's expression turned ugly. He looked at Mo Qingyun in front of him. Seeing Xiang Xiong's actions, Xiang Yun guessed what he was thinking. Xiang Xiong was worried that if he suddenly left, what would happen to Mo Qingyun? Sensing Xiang Xiong's behavior, Mo Qingyun stopped and shook his head with a smile. Prince Xiang Xiong, if you have something to take care of, go ahead and do it. There's no need to stay with me. As soon as Mo Qingyun spoke, Xiang Yun hurriedly said, Brother Emperor Xiong, you go ahead and do your things. I'll take care of Mr. Mo. Hearing Mo Qingyun and Xiang Yun's words, Xiang Xiong hesitated for a moment before making a decision. In that case, I'll go and take a look first. I'll come back when I'm done. Mo Qingyun nodded and turned to continue looking around the mansion. He appeared to be very relaxed. Seeing Mo Qingyun's behavior, Xiang Xiong didn't stay and walked towards the girls who came with Xiang Yun. Then, Xiang Xiong and the others began to talk. Their conversation was heard by Mo Qingyun. Prince Xiong, we found an ancient ruin. We're afraid that it's dangerous inside, so we want you to come with us. Are you an idiot? You're afraid of the ancient ruin, but I'm not. Prince Xiong, my father and mother have to go out today. I'm the only one in the mansion now. I'm afraid of being alone at home at night. Can you come and accompany me? Why are you so timid? You're only in the sky god realm. I'll order someone to summon your father and mother and have them return to the imperial capital immediately. Prince Xiong, I've been sewing a few ditto recently. I don't know which one suits me. Can you help me look at it tonight? You, a woman, are choosing doo-doo and you want me, a man, to look at it? Is there something wrong with your brain? Xiang Xiong and the others chattered endlessly. Hearing Xiang Xiong and the others' conversation, even with Mo Qingyun's mental state, he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This Xiang Xiong was really the worst. He really didn't understand romance. Seeing Mo Qingyun's expression, Xiang Yun, who was following behind him, giggled and said, Mr. Mo, do you think that Prince Xiong doesn't understand romance? He's a living example of a blockhead? Mo Qingyun smiled and didn't answer Xiang Yun. Mo Qingyun couldn't deny it. This was what he thought. At the same time, Mo Qingyun was also very puzzled. With Xiang Xiong's EQ, how could so many girls like him? After a while, Xiang Xiong interrupted the girls and returned to Mo Qingyun's side. Seeing Xiang Xiong return, Mo Qingyun smiled faintly and said, Prince Xiang Xiong, it seems that you're very popular in the empty fragrance dynasty. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Xiang Xiong showed a bitter expression and said, Mr. Mo, don't make fun of me. I'm in an abyss of suffering right now. You don't know. These girls look very weak, but once they get angry, they can peel my skin and pull on my tendons. They can even rip my skull open. Mo Qingyun was speechless. Looking at Xiang Xiong's expression, it seemed that he had been ruined by the girls and was already traumatized. Seeing Mo Qingyun's expression, Xiang Yun's beautiful eyes narrowed. She smiled sweetly at Mo Qingyun and said, Mr. Mo, you don't know. Among the Empress Mother's children, only Brother Xiong is a man. Us sisters love him very much and like to joke with him. There were a few times when we accidentally hurt him. Before Xiang Yun finished speaking, Xiang Xiong's eyes widened and he angrily shouted, Pei, you cripple my arms and legs several times. How can that be called a joke? And those girls just now, they seem very gentle to me, but in fact, they've beat up their brothers in their own homes. Do they really think I don't know? Xiang Xiong's reaction once again made Mo Qingyun speechless. He didn't know what to say, but it had to be said that Xiang Xiong's understanding and lamentation seemed to be full of reason. While they were talking, Mo Qingyun walked around the mansion and didn't feel that there was anything to buy. After familiarizing himself with his residence, Mo Qingyun revealed a curious expression and said, Prince Xiang Xiong, Princess Xiang Yun, is there a relatively large trading company in the capital of Kongshan Dynasty? I need to purchase some cultivation resources and sell some things I don't need. Previously, when refining the demons, Mo Qingyun had to delay because he didn't have enough resources. Now that he was in the deep fragrance dynasty, Mo Qingyun decided to buy the materials and complete the blood sacrifice. Come, wonderful book house. Chapter 33:15. Mr. Mo, You want to buy cultivation resources? Xiang Xiong was stunned. His face was filled with surprise and curiosity. He quickly said, there are many cultivation resources in the National Treasury. If you need them, why don't you come with me to take a look? As soon as Xiang Xiong said that, Xiang Yin frowned. Doubt flashed through her eyes. At the same time, the way she looked at Mo Qingyun changed drastically. Although Mo Qingyun was an important guest, it was unusual for Xiang Xiong to treat him like this. After all, Mo Qingyun's cultivation was only at the intermediate stage of the Great God Realm. However, Xiang Yun felt relieved when she saw Chun and Ao lie at the side. Although Mo Qingyun's cultivation wasn't high, his two followers were divine kings. Xiang Xiong was willing to pay any price to rope in two divine kings. After understanding Xiang Xiong's intentions, Xiang Yun smiled sweetly. With an innocent look, she said, Brother Xiong is right. There are many good things in the National Treasury. If you need them, I can help you talk to Empress Mother. Brother Xiong and I will ask for them together. With your status, Mother Empress will definitely agree if nothing goes wrong. Mo Qingyun shook his head with a smile when he heard Xiang Yun's words. He said, let's go take a look at the trading company first. If there isn't anything, we'll go to the National Treasury. Xiang Xiong and Ao Lai didn't say anything else after hearing Mo Qingyun's words. Xiang Xiong and Ao Lai led the way to the largest trading company in the imperial capital. Mo Qingyun and the others arrived in front of a huge trading company under Xiang Xiong and Ao Lai's guidance. The trading company occupied a huge area. It was tens of thousands of acres. There were a total of 6 floors, and they sold different items. Heavenly Diabolism Trading Company? Mo Qingyun frowned when he saw the name of the trading company. He was puzzled, because the trading company in front of him gave him a very familiar feeling, in addition to a very dangerous feeling. This feeling was very strange, and Mo Qingyun could not explain it. Just standing outside the trading company, Mo Qingyun felt a sense of crisis and instinctively raised his vigilance. Mr. Mo, let's go in. Without waiting for Mo Qingyun to understand, Xiang Xiong made an inviting gesture and took the lead to enter the trading company. Seeing Xiang Xiong walk into the trading company, Xiang Yun followed closely behind with a very familiar appearance. Hearing Xiang Xiong's greeting, Mo Qingyun didn't think too much about it and followed the two into the trading company. He was here to purchase cultivation resources. The abnormality of this trading company had nothing to do with him. Once news came from Kong Lanyue's side, he would leave the Space Fragrance Dynasty. There was no need to pay attention to these issues. So it's Brother Xiang Xiong and Yuner. Seeing Xiang Xiong and Lin Fan enter the trading company, a young man wearing a purple gold crown came up to greet them warmly. Looking at the young man who came to greet them, Xiang Xiong and Xiaoyu both smiled and greeted him familiarly. Brother Xia. Shang Yun greets Brother Xia. Xiang Xiong and Xiaoyu bowed. Luo Qinsha hurriedly reached out to help them up. We're all familiar with each other, so there's no need to be so polite. As Luo Qinsha spoke, his gaze fell on Mo Qingyun and the others. After sizing up Mo Qingyun and the others, Luo Qinsha pretended to be curious and asked, Brother Xiang Xiong, these friends have an extraordinary bearing. I presume they all have some status. Could you introduce them to me? Xiang Xiong didn't think too much about what Luo Qinsha was thinking. He immediately introduced Mo Qingyun and said, Brother Xia, this is young master Mo Qingyun. The Holy Land has arranged for him to stay in the imperial capital. He is an honored guest of our Space Fragrance Dynasty. After listening to Xiang Xiong's introduction, Luo Qinsha nodded, a thoughtful look on his face. Then, he looked at Mo Qingyun with a more solemn gaze. Without waiting for Luo Qinsha to ask another question, Xiang Xiong continued, Brother Xia, I brought Mr. Mo here today because Mr. Mo wants to buy some cultivation resources. You should take out all the good stuff you've been hiding. Luo Qinsha chuckled when he understood why Xiang Xiong and the others had come. Since Brother Xiang Xiong has asked, I naturally have to take out the good stuff. Everyone, please come in, have a seat, and have a cup of tea. We'll talk slowly. As Luo Qinsha spoke, he beckoned Mo, Qingyun, and the others into the Heavenly Diabolism trading firm. Soon, Luo Qinsha led the group into a large reception hall. As soon as Mo, Qingyun, and the others sat down, an elegant fragrance wafted in from outside the hall. A few beautiful women walked into the living room with tea sets in their hands. Luo Qinsha raised his hand to greet everyone. Everyone, this is the 100-million-year-old Jasper Spring from the Wood Realm. I just got some not long ago and haven't had the chance to taste it yet. Let's have a taste today. Mo Qingyun was startled when he heard Luo Qinsha's words. He looked puzzled as he asked, "The Wood Realm?" As far as Mo Qingyun knew, there was only the celestial realm he was in now and the star realm he had been in previously. He hadn't expected Luo Qinsha to mention a place called the Wood Realm. However, after being slightly surprised, Mo Qingyun felt relieved. There were naturally countless realms in all the realms in the universe. In the past, he had been at a lower level and hadn't had the opportunity to come into contact with them. Now that he was slowly hearing about them, it wasn't strange. After calming himself down, Mo Qingyun began to sip the tea and talk about the items he needed. Some of these things were needed to refine the Spectre God, while others were needed to refine the heaven-defying samsara pill. After hearing what Mo Qingyun wanted, even with Luo Qinsha and the others' mental fortitude, they were still shocked. The things Mo Qingyun needed were all rare cultivation resources. Some of them were even hard to come by in 100 million years. Dragon, Fate, Royal Spirit? Luo Qinsha and the others frowned. Luo Qinsha pondered this for a moment before he turned to Mo Qingyun and said, "Brother Mo, I can help you think of a way to obtain the other cultivation resources you want. However, I don't have any way of obtaining the Dragon Fate Royal Spirit. However, you can ask Brother Xiang Xiong and Xiang Yun for help. They might have some ideas." Mo Qingyun looked curious when he heard Luo Qinsha's reply. He turned to look at Xiang Xiong and Xiang Yun. He was a little surprised that Xiang Xiong and Xiang Yun had been able to find the Dragon Fate Royal Spirit. After all, the Dragon Fate Royal Spirit was the main ingredient in refining the heaven-defying samsara pill. Its rarity wasn't any lower than the fate-defying fretless fruit. When they saw Mo Qingyun looking at them, Xiang Xiong and Xiang Yun exchanged a look and said, "Mr. Mo, we don't have the Dragon Fate Royal Spirit at the moment. However, there might be one in the Imperial Tomb of our dynasty. If you want the Dragon Fate Royal Spirit, wait a few more days. When the Imperial Tomb opens, we can help you find it." Chapter 33:16. Seeing that Mo Qingyun was interested, Xiang Xiong continued to talk about the opening of the Imperial Emperor's tomb. Xiang Yun didn't stay idle while Xiang Xiong was talking. She added a sentence or two from time to time. After listening to the two of them, Mo Qingyun had a clear understanding of the opening of the Imperial Emperor's tomb. The Imperial Emperor's tomb that Xiang Xiong and Xiang Yun were talking about was actually the Imperial Emperor's tomb of the Kongxiang dynasty. The Kongxiang dynasty's Imperial Emperor's tomb was where the Imperial Emperor's tomb would allow them to compete and fight for opportunities. Whoever won first place would be the next Imperial Emperor's heir. In the past, there were no men who participated in the Imperial Emperor's tomb. This time, because Xiang Lingyi valued Xiang Xiong, she made an exception and gave him the opportunity to participate. After explaining the situation to Mo Qingyun, Xiang Yun winked at Mo Qingyun and said, "Mr. Mo, I still have 2 slots to enter the Imperial Emperor's tomb. Can you let your 2 subordinates enter the Imperial Emperor's tomb to help me?" Xiang Xiong immediately became anxious when he heard Xiang Yun's words. He looked at Mo Qingyun nervously. Compared to his sisters, his cultivation was the lowest. He hadn't reached the Divine King realm yet. Therefore, he had the least support in the Kongxiang dynasty. Originally, he thought that if he could ask for Mo Qingyun's help, he would have a higher chance of winning. What he didn't expect was that Xiang Yun would be the first to invite Mo Qingyun. While Xiang Xiong was feeling anxious, the corners of Mo Qingyun's mouth curled up. He smiled and said, "I'm afraid 2 spots aren't enough. If you can take out one more spot, I can consider it. Mo Qingyun's answer made Xiangyun frown. She looked at Mo Qingyun in confusion and said, Mr. Mo, you want one more slot? Are you going in too? That's right. Seeing that Xiangyun had guessed it, Mo Qingyun did not deny it. Mo Qingyun's reply put Xiangyun in a difficult position. She said, Mr. Mo, the examination in the Imperial Mausoleum is not safe. There are all sorts of unforeseen events and dangers. With your esteemed status, you cannot enter. Don't worry. If you're willing to send someone to help me, I'll definitely help you find the Dragon Fate Emperor's spirit. Xiangyun's persuasion caused Mo Qingyun to feel a little disappointed. He wasn't willing to continue bargaining with her. Mo Qingyun could tell that a large part of Xiangyun's words was perfunctory. Seeing that Mo Qingyun and Xiangyun had not reached an agreement, Xianxiong was delighted. He hurriedly said, Mr. Mo, I still have 4 spots left. If you're interested, I can give them to you. Although I don't have much power, and I don't have much of an advantage in the fight for the throne, it won't affect me in finding the Dragon Fate Emperor's spirit. Xianxiong's words immediately piqued Mo Qingyun's interest. He could feel Xianxiong's sincerity. Given Mo Qingyun's intelligence, he could still hear the hidden meaning in Xianxiong's words. Xianxiong was indirectly saying that he was willing to give up the throne in exchange for a favor from Mo Qingyun. In his opinion, the opportunity to fight for the throne was not comparable to a favor from Mo Qingyun. It made sense. The fact that Mo Qingyun was valued by an elder of a royal sacred ground was enough to prove that he had great connections and ability. If Mo Qingyun really wanted to help him, even if he couldn't inherit the throne of the Kongxiang dynasty, no one would dare to provoke him in the future. Then it's settled. Seeing that Xianxiong was willing to fulfill his request, Mo Qingyun accepted without hesitation. If that's the case, let me know when the Imperial Mausoleum opens. Seeing that Mo Qingyun had agreed, Xianxiong's face lit up. He was a little excited. He really didn't think that Mo Qingyun would agree so readily. Although he would waste 4 spots, adding 2 more Godly King experts was a huge gain for him. In his current situation, he could only find quasi-Godly King experts to fill up the remaining 4 spots. The difference in strength between a Godly King and a quasi-Godly King was not ordinary. Under normal circumstances, even 10 quasi-Godly King experts might not be a match for 1 Godly King. In this way, Mo Qingyun could bring 2 Godly Kings to join. It could be said that he had profited greatly. Seeing that Xianxiong had accepted Xianxiong's invitation, Xiangyun's pretty face changed slightly. She was the one who had invited him first, but Mo Qingyun had accepted Xianxiong's invitation. This was not giving her face. Xiangyun thought for a while and said, Mr. Mo, you have accepted Brother Xiong's invitation to enter the Imperial Mausoleum. You can't bully me. Upon hearing Xiangyun's words, Mo Qingyun smiled faintly and said, If there's a fight between us, I won't make things difficult for you as long as you back out. Mo Qingyun's reply made Xiangyun even more unhappy. Mo Qingyun's meaning was obvious. If she didn't know what was good for her, Mo Qingyun wouldn't show any mercy. Although she was very unhappy, Xiangyun didn't dare show it. Mr. Mo, you only know how to bully me. It's fine if you don't accept my invitation, but you actually want to bully me. You're really bad. Luo Qinsha's expression changed slightly when he heard Xiangyun's words. At the same time, a hint of hostility appeared in his eyes as he looked at Mo Qingyun. However, Luo Qinsha had concealed it very well, so no one noticed it. Mo Qingyun didn't care about Xiangyun's dissatisfaction. He turned to Luo Qinsha and said, If that's the case, I won't stay any longer. Brother Luo, once you've gathered everything, you can send it to my residence. Oh, by the way, I still have some cultivation resources for sale. I'll have to trouble Brother Luo to help me deal with them. As Mo Qingyun spoke, he took out a few storage rings and tossed them over to Luo Qinsha. Sure thing. Luo Qinsha nodded his head readily as he received Mo Qingyun's storage rings. However, when Luo Qinsha checked the storage rings and found out about the items inside, he He froze on the spot. The storage rings that Mo Qingyun had tossed aside contained cultivation resources of a very high value. With a cursory glance, he estimated the value of the items in the storage ring to be at least 1 billion heaven crystals. Just the things that he didn't want were worth more than 1 billion sky crystals. It could be seen how terrifying Mo Qingyun's financial resources were. Mo Qingyun didn't mind Luo Qinsha's surprise either. He directly got up and walked out of the parlor, saying, "If there's nothing else, I'll be going back first." Seeing Mo Qingyun get up and leave, Xiang Xiong and the rest hurriedly followed. Luo Qinsha didn't delay either, hurriedly getting up and sending Mo Qingyun out of the trading company. Mo Qingyun and Xiang Xiong left, but Xiang Yun stayed behind. She looked at Luo Qinsha with a pleading look and said, "Big brother Sha, you see, Imperial brother Xiong recruited a powerful helper. You can't watch me get bullied. How about you take action and help me?" Hearing Xiang Yun's request, Luo Qinsha hesitated for a moment before nodding his head and agreeing. Seeing Luo Qinsha's decision, Xiang Yun's expression immediately became overjoyed, showing an agitated attitude. Xiang Qingyi said as they walked, "We are currently in the outer area of the Imperial Mausoleum. The people buried here are all nobles of the dynasty, as well as people who have made outstanding contributions to the dynasty. As for the inner area of the Imperial Mausoleum, the people buried there are the true ancestors of the Imperial family. If you want to find the Dragon Fate Royal Spirit, you have to go to the inner area to have any hope of finding it. The chances of finding it in the outer area are extremely low." Mo Qingyun nodded his head in understanding. He now had a rough understanding of the Imperial Mausoleum. As Mo Qingyun and Xiang Qingyi were talking, a golden light flashed by. That is, Mo Qingyun looked at Xiang Qingyi curiously when he saw the golden light flash by. Seeing that Mo Qingyun was looking at her, waiting for her answer, Xiang Qingyi explained, "That's the Imperial Fate and Dragon Aura. Imperial Brother Xiong and the others will be judged by the amount of Imperial Fate and Dragon Aura they obtain." Mo Qingyun nodded his head in understanding, but he didn't chase after the Imperial Dragon Fate. He continued to walk with Xiang Qingyi at a steady pace. Not long after the Imperial Dragon Fate passed, Mo Qingyun saw a figure chasing after it. "Hey, Commander Tang Huai." He actually came in. Xiang Qingyi's eyes flashed when she recognized the figure in front of her. She was a little surprised by his appearance. When Xiang Qingyi recognized him, Tang Huai also noticed Xiang Qingyi. He stopped chasing after the Imperial Dragon Fate and said in surprise, "Eldest Princess, why are you here? Could it be that you want to compete for the throne?" As Tang Huai spoke, he also wanted Xiang Qingyi to fly over, so he seemed a little excited. If someone didn't know better, they might have thought that he was the one competing for the throne. Chapter 33:20. Nope. Xiang Qingyi shook her head. Xiang Qingyi's answer disappointed Tang Huai. In his heart, Xiang Qingyi was more suitable than Xiang Xiong and the others to inherit the throne of the Empty Fragrance dynasty. Seeing Mo Qingyun standing at the side, Tang Huai revealed a curious gaze. He looked over and asked, "First Princess, could this young master be the dynasty's honored guest?" Although Tang Huai had never seen Mo Qingyun before, he had heard about Mo Qingyun. Now that he saw Mo Qingyun, he quickly guessed his identity. "That's right." Xiang Qingyi nodded. I entered the Imperial Tomb to help Mr. Mo find the Dragon Fate King Spirit. I'm not interested in fighting for the throne. Hearing Xiang Qingyi's words, Tang Huai's expression changed slightly, showing a startled look. Xiang Qingyi frowned when she saw Tang Huai's reaction. She felt that something was wrong and asked, "Commander Tang Huai, is there something wrong?" "There's nothing wrong, but—" Tang Huai shook his head. He hesitated for a moment before continuing. "A Dragon Fate King Spirit is equivalent to 1,000 strands of Imperial Dragon Fate. Therefore, the Dragon Fate King Spirit is everyone's main goal. If you want to fight for the Dragon Fate King Spirit, you'll definitely be dragged into the fight for the throne." Xiang Qingyi's eyes trembled when she heard Tang Huai's explanation. Her eyes were filled with shock. She didn't expect such a thing to happen. If that was the case, then helping Mo Qingyun to obtain the Dragon Fate Royal Spirit would be different from her original intention. Xiang Qingyi wasn't the only one who was surprised. Mo Qingyun was also shocked when he heard this. It seemed that there was no way to avoid helping Xiang Xiong fight for the throne. Mo Qingyun was silent for a moment. He looked at Xiang Qingyi and asked, "Princess Qingyi, things have changed. It's different from what you thought. If you change your mind now, I won't force you." Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Xiang Qingyi hesitated, considering if she should change her mind. Xiang Qingyi thought for a while and said firmly, "Since I've agreed, I can't go back on my word. But I'll stick to what I said before. I'll only help you find the Imperial Spirit. I won't get involved in the fight." "Sure." Mo Qingyun didn't mind Xiang Qingyi's actions and accepted them calmly. The current situation had already gone against Xiang Qingyi's original intentions. It was already very rare that he was willing to stay. After reaching an agreement with Mo Qingyun, Xiang Qingyi looked at Tang Huai and said, "Commander Tang Huai, if you discover any Draconic Fate Royal Spirits, remember to find a way to notify us." Tang Huai didn't even consider Xiang Qingyi's request before he nodded and agreed. After agreeing to Xiang Qingyi's request, Tang Huai thought for a while and took out a black pearl. He said, "Princess, this is the Imperial Mausoleum Communication Pearl. You can use it to send messages in the Imperial Mausoleum. However, the range of the message is not very long. It will lose its effect if it goes beyond 1,000 miles." Looking at the black bead that Tang Huai handed over, Xiang Qingyi raised her hand and took it. She gave it a few simple glances. Then, she put the pearl away and said, "In that case, let's go our separate ways. If we talk for too long and others find out, it will be bad for you." "Yes." Tang Huai nodded and parted ways with Mo Qingyun. He continued to chase after the Imperial Dragon Qi. Seeing that Tang Huai had left, Mo Qingyun and Xiang Qingyi didn't stop and continued to rush into the Imperial Mausoleum. On their way, Mo Qingyun encountered many people who were chasing after the Imperial Fate and Dragon Qi that were fleeing everywhere. There was an obvious difference between this Emperor Dragon Qi and the Emperor Dragon Qi from before. Previously, the Imperial Fate and Dragon Qi were scattered, but now, many of them were entangled together. Not only that, but the tangled Emperor Dragon Qi also took the form of various beasts. Interesting. Mo Qingyun was intrigued by the appearance of the Emperor Dragon Qi. "I didn't expect the Emperor Dragon Qi to be able to take the form of beasts. It seems that they have some fighting power." Xiang Qingyi nodded at Mo Qingyun's words. Emperor Dragon Qi is formed by the Emperor Dragon Qi. The more Emperor Dragon Qi there is, the stronger the Emperor's spirit will be. It will also slowly develop intelligence. A godly venerated Emperor Dragon Qi once appeared in a dynasty and protected that dynasty for hundreds of millions of years. Unfortunately, that godly venerated Emperor Dragon Qi was targeted by the Nineteen Evil tribe and died under the attacks of several godly venerated emperors. Mo Qingyun was shocked and frowned. He was shocked by Xiang Qingyi's words. He didn't expect it to be the Nineteen Evil tribe again. The Nineteen Evil tribe seemed to be unexpectedly strong in the celestial world. As far as he knew, the Nineteen Heavens evil race seemed to have destroyed many forces and races. In Gaiman Divine Venerable's memories, that terrifying existence seemed to be from the Nine Evil tribe as well. Mo Qingyun became curious when he thought about it. The Nine Evil tribe is so strong and domineering. Don't the other super factions and races have any objections? If only one person indulges them, it won't be a good thing for the entire celestial world. Xiang Qingyi sighed when she heard Mo Qingyun's worried words. Naturally, no one will indulge the Nine Evil tribe. However, the Nine Evil tribe has always been mysterious. Without knowing their background, no one dares to make a move against them. More importantly, the celestial world is vast, and there are many factions. Everyone is wary of each other, so it's difficult to form a united front. Mo Qingyun nodded in understanding. He understood the situation very well. When faced with an opportunity or a crisis, everyone wanted to be the one to reap the benefits. No one wanted to work for nothing. Roar. While Mo Qingyun and Xiang Qingyi were talking, a deafening roar came from not far in front of them. Then, the two of them saw a huge golden figure twisting its body in the air in front of them. This is a divine king, realm emperor spirit. It's formed from at least 100 strands of imperial dragon chi. Xiang Qingyi's beautiful eyes trembled when she saw the golden figure in front of them. Shock appeared in her eyes as she said, "It's not easy to find an emperor spirit. We need to prepare for both sides. We need to search for an emperor spirit and gather imperial dragon chi at the same time. If we can't find an emperor spirit, we can gather enough imperial dragon chi and slowly nurture it into an emperor spirit." Mo Qingyun's eyes lit up when he heard Xiang Qingyi's words. He felt that it was a good idea. While agreeing with Xiang Qingyi's idea, Mo Qingyun also had some doubts. "Princess Qingyi, if we also fight for the imperial dragon chi, won't you be fighting for the right to the throne?" Xiang Qingyi smiled bitterly. "Do you think I'm not fighting for the right to the throne now?" Mo Qingyun smiled faintly and didn't say anything else. He flew directly toward the imperial dragon chi. Chapter 33:21. With a flicker, Mo Qingyun and the others arrived in front of the celestial king realm emperor spirit and saw it clearly. It looked similar to a serpent, except that it had a pair of cicada wings. A golden-winged serpent. Xiang Qingyi's beautiful eyes trembled when she saw the divine king spirit. She said, "Marshal Jean Bailong's bloodline is the golden cicada, flying feather flood dragon. This golden cicada, flying feather flood dragon royal spirit might be formed by Jean Bailong's royal chi after his death. Jean Bailong's grandson, Jean Tongxing, has also entered the tomb. If he discovers the golden-winged serpent emperor's spirit, it'll be troublesome for us to capture it." Hearing Xiang Qingyi's words, Mo Qingyun nodded in agreement. According to Xiang Qingyi, the golden-winged serpent emperor's spirit was indeed related to Jean Tongxing. After understanding this point, Mo Qingyun didn't want to waste any time and cause unnecessary trouble and changes. Mo Qingyun moved and attacked the spirit of the golden cicada, flying feather dragon emperor. He said, "If that's the case, let's not waste any more time. Since no one is here, let's capture it first." Xiang Qingyi agreed, and she also made a move. Xiang Qingyi was very strong. She displayed shocking battle prowess as soon as she attacked, far surpassing ordinary mid-divine kings. Under Xiang Qingyi's attack, the golden-winged serpent emperor's spirit was immediately suppressed. Roar! Under Xiang Qingyi's suppression, the golden-winged serpent emperor roared madly and struggled desperately. Xiang Qingyi frowned and said, "I'll suppress it. You guys attack it with all your strength. As long as you scatter it, it'll turn back into imperial chi." "All right." Mo Qingyun nodded. Seeing Mo Qingyun and Xiang Qingyi attack, and Shun and Ao Lai attacked as well. Under the attacks of Mo Qingyun and the others, the golden-winged serpent emperor's spirit couldn't resist at all. It was bombarded like a target. Bang, bang, bang. A series of loud noises were heard. In just a few moments, the powerful golden cicada, flying feather dragon emperor's spirit was blasted to pieces. The golden cicada, flying feather dragon emperor's spirit collapsed, and turned into strands of royal energy that scattered in all directions. That kind of scene was like the blooming of golden fireworks, gorgeous and eye-catching. However, Qingyun wasn't in the mood to appreciate it. As soon as he saw the Imperial Fate and Dragon Chi appear, he reached out to grab and collect them. Withdraw. With Qingyun's help, strands of Royal Fate Dragon Chi were caught by him and thrown into the Fortune mainland. Before long, Qingyun had collected all the Imperial Fate and Draconic Chi that had been floating in the air. Qingyun did not stop after collecting all the Imperial Dragon Chi. He continued to attack the Golden Cicada, Flying Feather Dragon Emperor's spirit. At this moment, when Qingyun and the others attacked, a group of people arrived. Noticing the arrival of this group of people, the expressions of Qingyun and the other three immediately became tense. Xiangfu, seeing the person at the front of the group, Qingyun's brows furrowed slightly as he recognized her. Immediately, Qingyun raised his guard to prevent Xiangfu and the others from snatching the Golden Cicada, Flying Feather Dragon Emperor's spirit. When Qingyun recognized Xiangfu, Xiang Qingyi was surprised. She looked at the young man behind Xiangfu and said, "This is troublesome. Jin Tongxing is here." Hearing Xiang Qingyi's words, Qingyun's gaze turned towards Jin Tongxing. Jin Tongxing's figure was tall and sturdy, standing there like a wall. His God King realm aura was fully released. The primogenitor, Flying Feather Dragon Emperor's spirit. Looking at the Golden Cicada, Flying Feather Dragon Emperor's spirit being attacked, Jin Tongxing's expression turned ugly. In his eyes, the Golden Cicada, Flying Feather Dragon Emperor's spirit was a continuation of Jin Bellin. "Stop!" Jin Tongxing shouted at Qingyun and the others angrily after a short moment of surprise. After scolding Qingyun and the others, Jin Tongxing looked at Xiangfu and said, "Princess Fu, please give the order to help me stop them from attacking the spirit where the primogenitor, Flying Feather Dragon Emperor's spirit is." Hearing Jin Tongxing's request, Xiangfu hesitated, considering whether or not she should stop them. Xiangfu hesitated for a moment. Then her expression turned cold. She said, "Mr. Mo, Sister Qingyi, this spirit is formed by Jin Tongxing's primogenitor, Flying Feather Dragon Emperor's Qi. Now that Jin Tongxing is here, don't you think you're going too far by continuing to capture and kill it? Also, Sister Qingyi, you said before that you wouldn't participate in the battle for the throne. Now you're capturing and killing the primogenitor, Flying Feather Dragon Emperor's Qi. Aren't you going back on your word?" Hearing Xiangfu's words, a troubled expression appeared on Xiang Qingyi's face. She did say before that she wouldn't participate in the battle for the throne. Now her actions were indeed going back on her word. Xiang Qingyi was silent for a moment. Her expression also became serious. She said, "I didn't enter the Imperial Mausoleum to fight for the throne. As for suppressing the primogenitor, Flying Feather Dragon Emperor's Qi, I'm just fulfilling Mr. Mo's request. As for whether you believe me or not, that's up to you." Xiang Qingyi's answer made Xiangfu's expression turn even uglier. She said unhappily, "Sister Qingyi, from what you're saying, it sounds like you don't want to stop. If that's the case, then don't blame me." After Xiangfu finished speaking, she looked at Qingyun and said, "Mr. Mo, I don't mean to go against you. As long as you take your people and leave immediately, I can promise you that Jin Tongxing won't pursue your previous actions." When Xiangfu said this, she didn't stay idle. She also gave orders to Jin Tongxing and the others. After receiving Xiangfu's orders, Jin Tongxing charged out first. He directly charged towards Enchun, who was closest to him. Seeing Jin Tongxing charge towards him, Enchen's face sank. He yelled out, "You fool, how dare you touch my things? You're looking to die." Enchen yelled out coldly. He stopped attacking and began fighting with Jin Tongxing. Seeing Jin Tongxing attack, Xiangfu's other subordinates did not stand aside and watch. Very soon, the remaining 4 God Kings charged towards Ao Lai. Faced with the attacks of the 4 God Kings, Ao Lai's expression was tense. He felt a great pressure. Although he had received the ancient god's legacy, he had just become a god king after all. The pressure of fighting for alone was still great. Seeing Ao Lai's situation, Enchun did not hesitate at all. He helped him take on one of the god kings. With Enchun taking on one of the god kings, Ao Lai's pressure was greatly reduced. He was barely able to deal with the other three. Seeing this, Xiang Qingyi's face became tense. She yelled out, "Sister Xiangfu, tell them to stop. You're causing trouble for the Empire." As Xiang Qingyi spoke, she did not dare to hesitate. She was about to give up on suppressing the Emperor's spirit and take on some of the pressure from Enchun and Enchun. However, before Xiang Qingyi could do anything, Mo Qingyun shook his head at her. He said, "Princess Qingyi, just suppress the Emperor's spirit for me. I'll deal with him myself." Xiang Qingyi's expression changed when she heard Mo Qingyun's words. She was greatly surprised. Chapter 33:22. Princess Xiangfu, tell your men to leave immediately. Otherwise, I won't hold back. After instructing Xiang Qingyi, Mo Qingyun looked at Xiangfu and warned her coldly. Seeing Mo Qingyun's attitude, Xiang Qingyi and Xiangfu were both surprised and curious. They knew that Mo Qingyun must have something special to be valued by the elders of the royal bloodline Holy Land. However, they didn't know exactly what was so special about Mo Qingyun. Under such circumstances, Mo Qingyun still dared to speak so arrogantly. He was probably going to use his trump card. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Xiangfu's face tensed up. She said nervously, "Mr. Mo, I don't mean to make things difficult for you, but this golden cicada flying feather dragon emperor's spirit is..." Before Xiangfu could finish, Mo Qingyun interrupted her. "You don't have to explain anything to me. Are you going to give up on the golden cicada flying feather dragon emperor's spirit after we leave? Since you don't want them to leave, don't blame me." As soon as Mo Qingyun finished speaking, he raised his hand and summoned two specters. Two mid-stage divine king auras exploded in front of Mo Qingyun. Two mid-stage divine king realm specters. Sensing the auras of the two specters, Xiang Qingyi and Xiangfu's faces changed drastically. Their eyes were filled with shock. Originally, the fact that Mo Qingyun had two Divine King experts by his side had already shocked them greatly. Now that there were two more Divine King Realm Specters, they were even more shocked. Moreover, these two Divine King Realm Specters were mid-stage Divine Kings. Take care of them. After summoning the Divine King Realm Specters, Mo Qingyun didn't waste any time and ordered them to attack. Then, the two mid-stage Divine King Realm Specters charged towards Jin Tongxing and the others. As the two mid-Divine King Realm Ghosts and Deities joined the battle, the balance that was barely maintained instantly turned into a one-sided situation. Seeing this scene, Xianfu bit her lip and said, "Mr. Mo, Xianfu had no choice. Sorry for the offense." After Xianfu finished speaking, her figure flashed and flew towards Mo Qingyun. Perhaps in her opinion, as long as she captured Mo Qingyun, the current situation would be resolved. Xiang Qingyi's pretty face trembled when she saw Xiangfu's actions. A sliver of worry appeared on her face as she hurriedly said, "Xiangfu, you can't." As soon as Xiang Qingyi finished speaking, her figure flashed and she rushed towards Xiangfu, intending to stop her. Seeing Xiang Qingyi's actions, Mo Qingyun shook his head indifferently and said, "Princess Qingyi, focus on suppressing the Emperor's spirit. Don't worry about anything else. As a guest, I originally didn't want to attack you hosts, but since you insist on forcing me, I can only offend you." As soon as Mo Qingyun finished speaking, his figure flashed and he dodged Xianfu's attack. As Mo Qingyun dodged, an 8-winged Pegasus appeared below him. Mo Qingyun stepped on the Pegasus, and his speed was extremely fast. He was actually slightly faster than Xianfu. So fast. Seeing Mo Qingyun's performance, Xianfu's pretty face was filled with shock. She stopped underestimating Mo Qingyun. Mo Qingyun's cultivation wasn't high, but the techniques he displayed were incomparable to ordinary people. While Xianfu's face was filled with shock, Mo Qingyun didn't waste any time and summoned another ghost deity. Soon after, an even stronger aura erupted in front of Mo Qingyun. Late divine king realm. Sensing the fluctuation of the ghost deity's aura, the surrounding people were shocked. Their faces instantly tensed up. In the current situation, the appearance of a late divine king expert would undoubtedly have a huge impact. Roar! The ghost deity Gong Hanqing was summoned. It roared and flew towards Xianfu. Facing the ghost deity Gong Hanqing's attack, Xianfu's pretty face changed drastically. Her eyes were filled with intense shock. She would never have thought that Mo Qingyun would have such a trump card. If she had known earlier, she wouldn't have taken action and put herself in a difficult position. Brother Xiong is really lucky to be recognized by him. Looking at Mo Qingyun's performance, Xiang Qingyi's pretty face trembled slightly. She couldn't help but envy Xiang Xiong. She was very clear that Xiang Xiong definitely didn't know about the battle prowess Mo Qingyun possessed. While Xiang Qingyi was shocked, a look of understanding appeared on her pretty face. She now felt that the reason why Mo Qingyun was valued by the elders of the royal bloodline Holy Land should have a lot to do with this. Under everyone's shocked gazes, Mo Qingyun looked at Jin Tongxing and said, "The thing that made you feel troubled is none other than this person. If I take care of this person, I think you won't feel troubled anymore." As soon as Mo Qingyun finished speaking, he flew towards Jin Tongxing and launched an attack. The moment Mo Qingyun attacked, a powerful aura erupted and a violent thunderbolt blasted out. Roar! The thunderbolt blasted out from Mo Qingyun's palm and turned into a huge lightning dragon, bombarding towards Jin Tongxing. Feeling the lightning dragon's aura, Jin Tongxing's expression changed greatly. A trace of panic appeared in his eyes. The aura emitted by the lightning dragon actually made people's hearts palpitate. "No, this is impossible." A feeling of panic appeared. Jin Tongxing's face revealed a crazy expression. He couldn't accept this fact. He was a dignified God King realm powerhouse. A great God realm cultivator's attack actually frightened him. While Jin Tongxing was shocked, he didn't hesitate at all and immediately blocked the lightning dragon's attack. As Jin Tongxing made his move, a terrifying golden light blasted out from his fist. The golden light blasted out and turned into the shadow of a bear, colliding with the lightning dragon. Bang! A loud sound was heard. Following this sound, a terrifying storm of divine power formed, wreaking havoc in all directions. Facing the impact of the divine power storm, Jin Tongxing didn't dare to hesitate and immediately retreated. However, when Jin Tongxing retreated, Ao Lai slapped him with his palm. Facing a pincer attack from the front and back, Jin Tongxing was flustered and was hit by Ao Lai's palm. Bang! After being hit by Ao Lai's palm, Jin Tongxing was sent flying. He spat out blood and was seriously injured. Following that, the aura emitted by Jin Tongxing began to weaken rapidly. Seeing such a scene, Xianfu didn't dare to hesitate and hurriedly said, "Mr. Mo, please have mercy. We'll leave immediately." Hearing Xianfu's request, Mo Qingyun hesitated for a moment and waved at Chun and the others. After receiving Mo Qingyun's signal, Chun and the others stopped attacking and quickly returned to Mo Qingyun's side. Seeing Chun and the others stop, Xianfu's expression relaxed. She looked at Mo Qingyun with a complicated gaze. After sizing up Mo Qingyun, Xianfu didn't say anything and turned to leave. Chapter 33:23. With the help of several ghost gods, the speed of killing the golden cicada, flying feather flood dragon's emperor spirit, became much faster. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. In just a few minutes, the golden cicada, flying feather flood dragon, was killed by Mo Qingyun and the others. More than 100 strands of Emperor's Dragon Chi. Not bad. Looking at the amount of Emperor's Dragon Chi he had collected, Mo Qingyun revealed a satisfied smile. According to Xiang Qingyi, as long as he collected 10,000 strands of Emperor's Dragon Qi, there was a chance of nurturing an Emperor spirit. In other words, killing 100 God King Realm Emperor spirits would allow him to collect 10,000 strands of Emperor's Dragon Qi. If that was the case, it wouldn't be too difficult. Let's go. After collecting all the Emperor's Dragon Qi, Mo Qingyun flew away. As they continued on their way, Mo Qingyun kept the ghost gods on the Fortune mainland to prevent them from being too conspicuous. Seeing Mo Qingyun keep the ghost gods, Xiang Qingyi's eyelids twitched. She broke out in cold sweat for the others. Mo Qingyun was going to trick them again. Xiang Yun and the others didn't know about Mo Qingyun's battle strength. If they accidentally offended him, wouldn't they suffer a great loss? I hope they know what's good for them. Xiang Qingyi sighed inwardly. She was worried for Xiang Yun and the others. Although Xiang Qingyi thought so, when the time came, she wouldn't warn them. Most importantly, even if she warned them out of goodwill, they wouldn't believe her. In the following days, Mo Qingyun and the others continued to hunt Emperor spirits and collect Emperor's Dragon Qi. Under such circumstances, Mo Qingyun and the others didn't travel fast. It took them several hours to reach the inner area. After entering the inner area, Xiang Qingyi frowned and said, "Mr. Mo, the inner area is different from the outer area. The people buried in the outer area are all nobles. Their Emperor Qi is condensed into Emperor spirits. They can't form a connection with the Emperor tomb. Therefore, the strength of these Emperor spirits isn't particularly strong. It's different for the Emperor spirits in the inner area. The people buried in the inner area are all the ancestors of the royal family. Their royal spirit manifested from the royal aura and formed a connection with the royal mausoleum. They received the support of the royal mausoleum. In addition, the imperial family members in the inner area can resonate with the Emperor Qi and stimulate the power in their body. In the inner area, we can also suppress our opponent's strength." Hearing Xiang Qingyi's words, Mo Qingyun was surprised. He didn't expect there was such a secret. Although he was surprised by this secret, Mo Qingyun did not panic. With a serious expression, he said, "In this case, although it will be difficult to compete for the Imperial Fate and Dragon Qi, it won't be a big problem if I reveal some of my trump cards." Mo Qingyun smiled faintly. He didn't think too much about it and continued to go deeper into the inner area. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Xiang Qingyi's face trembled. Her beautiful eyes were filled with shock. According to Mo Qingyun's words, he was still hiding some trump cards, and they were extremely powerful trump cards. Because with the strength Mo Qingyun had shown before, he wouldn't have much of an advantage if he encountered Xiang Fu and the others in the inner area. Moreover, among Xiang Fu, Xiang Yun, and Xiang Yin, Xiang Fu was probably the weakest. While Xiang Qingyi was still in shock, Mo Qingyun turned to look at her and said, "Still can't contact Xiang Xiong?" Xiang Qingyi shook her head and said, "Not yet. I feel that Xiang Xiong might not be in the inner area, but in the outer area. Although his strength will be increased in the inner area, with his quasi-divine king cultivation, it's not suitable for him to move around in the inner area." After hearing Xiang Qingyi's answer, Mo Qingyun nodded and ignored Xiang Xiong. Whether Xiang Xiong came or not, it wouldn't be of much help to him. Since I can't contact Xiang Xiong, I'll continue to look for Emperor spirits. After Mo Qingyun finished speaking, he flew towards a tomb to see if there were any Emperor spirits. This tomb wasn't too big. The area it occupied was even smaller than some of the tombs in the outer area. However, when Mo Qingyun approached it, he clearly felt that he was being suppressed by a force. This must be what Xiang Qingyi said. The Emperor spirit suppresses people's strength. Feeling the suppression of power, Mo Qingyun immediately understood and sensed his body's condition. Sensing the state of his strength, Mo Qingyun frowned slightly. He thought to himself, "It's just an ordinary mausoleum, but the suppression on my strength is close to 10%. The situation is more troublesome than I thought. I wonder if there's a way to resolve it. If there's no way, I won't be able to fight back if I encounter a quasi-divine Emperor expert unless I use the sealed door." Mo Qingyan thought. He turned to Xiang Qingyi and said, Princess Qingyi, is there any way to resolve the suppression of our strength by the Emperor's spirit? Hearing Mo Qingyan's question, Xiang Qingyi pondered and thought of a solution for Mo Qingyan. Not long after thinking for a while, Xiang Qingyi thought of a solution and said, There's a solution, but there's a big limitation. First, you need to fuse with the Imperial Dragon Qi. If you can't, you won't be able to use this method. Once you've fused with the Imperial Dragon Qi, you can use the Imperial Dragon Qi to resist the suppression of the Emperor's spirit in the inner area of the tomb. Also, using the Imperial Dragon Qi to resist the suppression will consume a lot of energy. After hearing Xiang Qingyi's explanation, Mo Qingyun's expression relaxed, and his eyebrows relaxed slightly. As long as there was a solution, it was fine. As for the consumption of the Imperial Dragon Qi, he didn't really care. If he couldn't fight against Xiang Yin, and Xiang Fu, he wouldn't even have the ability to stand firm here, let alone collect the Imperial Dragon Qi and capture better Dragon Qi and Emperor spirits. Since we need to fuse with the Imperial Dragon Qi, let's not waste any more time. After getting the method from Xiang Qingyi, Mo Qingyun didn't want to waste any more time. He immediately took out the Imperial Fate Dragon Qi and said, Enchun Olai, you two try to merge the Imperial Fate Dragon Qi with me. If you can merge it, you can use the Imperial Fate Dragon Qi to defend yourself when you fight. Yes, Enchun and Ao Lai replied. They took the Imperial Dragon Qi and tried to fuse it with their bodies. After giving the two Imperial Dragon Qi, Mo Qingyun didn't think too much and immediately tried to fuse with the Imperial Dragon Qi. Seeing Mo Qingyun's decisive action, Xiang Qingyi's beautiful eyes trembled, and she looked at the three of them nervously. She wondered if the three of them could fuse successfully. Chapter 33:24. After a short while, a shocked expression appeared on Xiang Qingyi's face. She saw that the Imperial Dragon Qi in front of Mo Qingyun and the other two had merged perfectly into their bodies. They all have the royal bloodline, and it's even stronger than mine. Xiang Qingyi's eyes trembled when she saw the situation of Mo Qingyun and the other two. Her heart thumped wildly. This scene was simply too shocking for her. She knew that Mo Qingyun's identity was extraordinary, but she didn't expect that Enchun and Ao Lai's identities were also extraordinary. It could be seen that Enchun was a royal of the Dark Heaven Holy Clan, and Ao Lai was also a royal of the Dragon Clan. These two clans were the most powerful clans in the Heaven world, especially the Dark Heaven Holy Clan, which was one of the overlords of the Heaven world. It was even stronger than the mysterious Heaven Holy Clan. No wonder the elders of the royal sacred ground value Mo Qingyun so much. At this moment, Xiang Qingyi finally understood why Mo Qingyun was valued by so many people. With his identity as a royal of the Dark Heaven Holy Clan, he should receive such treatment. No, with Mo Qingyun's identity, he should receive a more grand reception. Perhaps his cultivation isn't high, and his seniority in the Dark Heaven Holy Clan is low, so he wasn't directly sent to the royal sacred ground. Xiang Qingyi thought to herself. She had a perfect excuse for Mo Qingyun not going to the royal sacred ground directly. She thought to herself, no matter what, his identity is incomparably noble. The Empress's suggestion was right. Leaving the mysterious Heaven Holy Clan with him should be the right choice. At this moment, Xiang Qingyi had made a firm decision. No matter what, she would follow Mo Qingyun. After making such a decision, Xiang Qingyi's eyes were filled with determination. She thought to herself, if this is the case, I can't just stand by and watch when he fights with Xiang Yin, and Xiang Fu. Xiang Qingyi muttered to herself. She stopped thinking about it and silently guarded Mo Qingyun and the other two. Time passed slowly. About half an hour later, Mo Qingyun's group ended their cultivation and successfully integrated the Royal Fate and Dragon Qi. Enchun and Ao Lai didn't change much after fusing with the Imperial Dragon Aura, but Mo Qingyun had obvious changes after fusing with the Imperial Dragon Aura. At this moment, Mo Qingyun was just standing there, doing nothing. He was absorbing the imperial fate and draconic chi around him. Seeing Mo Qingyun's performance, Xiang Qingyi's beautiful eyes trembled again. She exclaimed, You actually condensed an imperial dragon's fate. How is this possible? And Shun and Ao Lai's expressions changed when they heard Xiang Qingyi's words. They looked at Mo Qingyun with eyes filled with shock. Both of them had vague memories of the rumors regarding the Emperor's fate dragon fetus. Under normal circumstances, those who could condense an Emperor's fate dragon fetus were those who were born with the Emperor's fate. Could it be that Mo Qingyun was also such a person? However, when he thought about Mo Qingyun's methods and potential, there didn't seem to be anything special. What's wrong? Is there something wrong? Hearing Xiang Qingyi's surprised words, Mo Qingyun revealed a curious expression and asked her a question in return. Mo Qingyun's question made Xiang Qingyi even more shocked. She said, People who can condense the Emperor's fate dragon fetus are all born with the fate of an Emperor. They are existences with great luck. More importantly, you've condensed an imperial dragon's fate. In the inner area of the Emperor's tomb, your battle strength will multiply. Hearing Xiang Qingyi's words, Mo Qingyun's face was filled with shock. He began to sense his body's condition. After a while, Mo Qingyun gained a clear understanding of his body. He smiled in delight and said, You're right. I can feel that my current strength is several times greater than before. If I don't use my trump cards, I can even contend with early god kings for a bit. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Xiang Qingyi's face trembled again. Her beautiful eyes were filled with shock. Although Mo Qingyun had dodged Xiang Fu's attack in the outer area, it was just dodging. Mo Qingyun's performance only proved that his identity was stronger. But now, Mo Qingyun was saying that he could contend against an early god king. This wasn't just dodging, it was proving that he could fight against an early god king. All right, let's not waste time. Let's explore the tomb first. After understanding his situation, Mo Qingyun flew closer to the tomb to check if there was any imperial dragon's fate. Seeing Mo Qingyun's action, and Shun and the other two quickly followed and explored the tomb together. To Mo Qingyun's disappointment, there was no imperial dragon's fate or spirit in the tomb. In other words, there was something in the tomb, but it had been taken away by someone else. Let's go deeper into the tomb. Seeing how there was nothing to gain, Mo Qingyun did not want to stay any longer. He flew into the depths of the tomb with a flash. In the next period of time, Mo Qingyun and the others explored the tombs one by one. They hunted down ordinary spirit kings and collected their imperial dragon's fate. During this time, Mo Qingyun and Shun and Ao Lai constantly fused with the imperial dragon's fate so that they could deal with the upcoming battles. Unknowingly, a few days passed. During these days, Mo Qingyun did not come across Xiang Fu and the others. He successfully hunted down spirit kings and collected their imperial dragon's fate. Not only that, but Mo Qingyun and Shun and Ao Lai had all fused with over 100 strands of imperial dragon's fate. My body has reached its limit. I can't fuse with any more imperial dragon's fate. Ao Lai explained his situation helplessly after fusing with the current strand of imperial dragon's fate. Hearing this, Enchin shook his head and said, With my body's current condition, I can only fuse with 20 more strands at most. Then I'll reach my limit. After learning about Enchin and Enchin's situation, Mo Qingyun was confused. He said, Why don't I feel anything at all? I don't feel my body's limit at all. Not only that, but as I continue to fuse with the imperial dragon's fate, I feel like my cultivation is going to improve. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Shun and Ao Lai smiled wryly. They suddenly felt depressed. This was too depressing. After learning about Mo Qingyun's situation, Xiang Qingyi smiled faintly and said, Mr. Mo, your situation is different from others. You've condensed the imperial dragon's fate. No matter how much imperial dragon's fate you fuse with, your body will not be unable to handle it. As soon as Xiang Qingyi finished speaking, Chen's face became gloomy. He said not only that, Master, Your body is the heavenly might dominating body. It's the fourth-ranked amethyst thunder dragon dominating body. How can the two of us compare to it? As soon as Enchun said this, Xiang Qingyi was shocked. Her beautiful eyes widened as she looked at Mo Qingyun. She really didn't expect Mo Qingyun to have such a body. He had hidden such a trump card. At this moment, as Mo Qingyun and the others were talking, a group of people flew towards them. Seeing this group of people approaching, Mo Qingyun and the others' expressions slowly became tense. Chapter 33:25. I can't believe we met them again. A wisp of shock surfaced in the eyes of Mo Qingyun and the others when they saw Xiang Fu's group approaching. They didn't think that the first people they would meet would be Xian Fu and the others again. Enemies were bound to meet on a narrow road. Similar to Mo Qingyun and the others, the faces of Xian Fu and the others were filled with shock at this moment. Arriving in front of Xiang Fu and the others, Mo Qingyun glanced at Jin Tongxing and said, "Princess Xiang Fu, the people buried here are all ancestors of the imperial clan. If a royal spirit is condensed here, you won't think that it's the only imperial clan ancestor and try to steal it from us again, will you?" Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Xian Fu was stunned. She didn't know how to answer. She didn't think that Mo Qingyun would be so direct and mention fighting for the royal spirit. Before Xian Fu could speak, Jin Tongxing sneered and said, "Mr. Mo, if you know how to be rude, why are you so aggressive and trying to snatch the royal spirit of other people's ancestors? Even if you have a high status, you should be reasonable." After Jin Tongxing finished speaking, Xian Fu smiled and said, "Mr. Mo, Jin Tongxing is right. You can't bully others just because you have a high status." Hearing Xian Fu and Jin Tongxing's words, Mo Qingyun smiled and said, "Princess Xian Fu, what you said is wrong. According to what you said, the examination of the Imperial Mausoleum this time only involved you and your brothers and sisters. Why would you need other people to help you? Besides, I entered the Imperial Mausoleum with Empress Xiang Lingyi's permission. Naturally, I didn't offend her." Without waiting for Xian Fu to refute, Mo Qingyun turned to look at Jin Tongxing. His eyes turned cold, and he said, "Who do you think you are? I'm talking with Princess Xian Fu. Who are you to interrupt? Also, so what if I'm aggressive? As for reason, that's a request from the weak to the strong, and the strong will only give orders to the weak. I'll give you 3 breaths of time to get out of my sight. Otherwise, don't blame me for not giving face to Princess Xian Fu." After Mo Qingyun finished speaking, he began to count down. His attitude was extremely domineering. Mo Qingyun's attitude caught Xian Fu and the others off guard. For a moment, they didn't know what to do. 3, 2, 1. After counting down from 3, Mo Qingyun did not waste any more words. He directly waved his hand at Enchun and said, "Enchun, deal with him." Upon hearing Mo Qingyun's order, Enchun's figure flashed and attacked Jin Tongxing. Mo Qingyun. Seeing Mo Qingyun's actions, Xian Fu's pretty face changed and her beautiful eyes were filled with anger. She did not expect Mo Qingyun to be so powerful that he did not fear her existence at all. Mo Qingyun did not care about Xian Fu's anger at all. He turned his head with a cold gaze and said, "Prince Xian Fu, I still stand by what I said before. As a guest of the Sky Fragrance Dynasty, I do not wish to attack my masters. But if you don't know what's good for you, I won't consider myself a guest. When that time comes, I can't guarantee what I will do." Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Xian Fu was instantly furious. Her face turned green and white. She, Xian Fu, had never been treated like this in the Sky Fragrance Dynasty. All along, she had been suppressing others forcefully, even when facing Xiang Xiong and the others. Now, when facing Mo Qingyun, the situation was completely reversed. This situation was really difficult for her to accept. Sigh, Xian Fu has met a ruthless person this time. Seeing this scene, Xiang Qingyi sighed and shook her head. She thought to herself, Xian Fu, Mr. Mo is an important guest of the dynasty. Do not be rude. Take your people and leave immediately. Xiang Qingyi did not want to pay attention to it, but after all, Xianfu was her royal sister. She could not bear to see Xianfu asking for trouble. However, Xiang Qingyi did not expect that it would have been better if she had not spoken. Her persuasion angered Xianfu instead. Hearing Xiang Qingyi's persuasion, Xianfu's eyes widened. She glared angrily at Xiang Qingyi and said, Xiang Qingyi, don't think that just because you have Mo Qingyun, you can order me around. Jin Tangxing came to help me collect the Imperial Fate and Dragon Qi. If he is bullied, how can I sit by and do nothing? If you want to fight, then do it. Seeing Xianfu's attitude, Xiang Qingyi sighed. She felt even more helpless. She knew that her good intentions had been treated as ill intent. Then, Xiang Qingyi did not say anything more. She did not want to care about Xianfu's matters anymore. She would do it for her own good. Princess Qingyi, go find the Imperial Spirit for me. I will take care of this myself. In order to not make things difficult for Xiang Qingyi, Mo Qingyun told her to leave first. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Xiang Qingyi did not say anything more. She nodded and left. Seeing Mo Qingyun's actions, Xianfu's beautiful face changed. Her eyes flashed with shock. Originally, she thought that if Mo Qingyun encountered them in the inner area, he would borrow Xiang Qingyi's power. But now, Mo Qingyun was telling Xiang Qingyi to leave. This was too arrogant and too stupid. Remember that they were in the inner area and could borrow the power of the Imperial Mausoleum. Mo Qingyun, you're too arrogant. In a moment, I will let you know the price of arrogance. Seeing Xiang Qingyi leave, Xianfu smiled coldly and said, Xiang Qingyi might not have told you that we are in the inner area of the Imperial Mausoleum. We can borrow the power of the Imperial Mausoleum. I hope that when you see it later, you will not be scared. As Xianfu spoke, she activated the power of her bloodline and formed a connection with the Imperial Mausoleum. Soon after, the aura emitted by Xianfu began to rapidly increase. She has surpassed the late divine king stage. Sensing the change in Xianfu's aura, Mo Qingyun's expression changed slightly. Shock flashed through his eyes. He did not expect that with the support of the Imperial Mausoleum, Xianfu's strength would rise by a small level. At the same time, Mo Qingyun felt that the suppression he was under was even stronger. In a situation where Mo Qingyun did not resist, the aura he emitted almost fell out of the great god realm. He was not the only one. Enchantment and Ao Lai were the same. Their auras fell by more than a small level. After borrowing the power of the Imperial Mausoleum, Xianfu smiled coldly and said, Mo Qingyun, do you still think that you have the ability to fight against us now? I will give you a chance. Give me the Imperial Fate and Draconic Qi you obtained before, and our conflict will be written off. Mo Qingyun smiled faintly when he heard Xianfu's words. He said, I have learned something from you. It turns out that being big-breasted and brainless is incomplete. Small breasts can be brainless too. Do you think that I would not consider this situation after coming to the inner area of the Imperial Mausoleum? Do you think that I would not know that you were relying on this? When Mo Qingyun said this, the smile on Xianfu's face immediately froze. Immediately afterwards, a great sense of unease rose up in her heart. Chapter 33:26. Enchantment, Ao Lai, there's no need to hold back anymore. XXX underscore XXX underscore XXX underscore XXX underscore XXX before Xianfu could calm down. Mo Qingyun instructed Enchantment and Ao Lai to attack with all their might. Hearing Mo Qingyun's instructions, Enchantment and Ao Lai immediately responded and activated the Imperial Dragon Qi in their bodies. Immediately, Enchantment and Ao Lai's bodies bloomed with dazzling golden light, noble and majestic. At the same time, Enchantment and Ao Lai's aura began to rise rapidly. After a short while, Enchantment and Ao Lai's auras were even stronger than their own cultivation bases. Seeing this, Xianfu and the others all widened their eyes in shock. They've merged with the Imperial Dragon Chi. How is this possible? Only members of the royal family can merge with the Imperial Dragon Chi. Are they all royalty of a certain clan? This person is a royalty of the Dark Heaven Holy Clan. With such a status, he actually recognizes Mo Qingyun as his master. That person is actually a royalty of the Dragon Clan. Is he also Mo Qingyun's servant? If that's the case, Mo Qingyun's identity is his. Seeing in Chun and Ao Lai's performance, Xianfu and the others were shocked and gasped. Immediately after, their gazes towards Mo Qingyun were filled with a strong sense of awe. The royalty of the Dark Heaven Holy Clan was equivalent to the prince of the Profound Heaven Holy Clan. This was even higher than Xiang Lingyi's status. If such a person was Mo Qingyun's servant, it showed how terrifying Mo Qingyun's identity was. Is Mo Qingyun the descendant of the Supreme God? Thinking of Mo Qingyun's identity, Xianfu's face turned pale and the fear in her heart increased. While Xianfu was afraid, Mo Qingyun summoned a few specters and asked them to help in Chun and Ao Lai. When the specter gods were summoned, the auras they emitted were strongly suppressed. Their battle prowess had been weakened by a minor realm. Regarding this, Mo Qingyun was somewhat helpless, but there was nothing he could do. Aside from the fact that the specters had no consciousness, they did not have the royal bloodline and could not fuse with the Imperial Dragon Chi. Fortunately, Spectre's cultivation base has improved. Otherwise, he wouldn't be of any help if his cultivation base fell below the God King realm. Mo Qingyun rejoiced when he sensed that the demon deity's cultivation had dropped. He looked at Xiangfu and asked, "Why aren't you talking? Aren't you surprised? If you're surprised, give me all the Emperor Fortune and Dragon Chi you've acquired." When Mo Qingyun said this, Xianfu was speechless. She didn't know what to say. Was she surprised? Speaking of which, it was more frightening. Even if she racked her brains, she would never have thought that Mo Qingyun and the other two would be able to fuse with the Imperial Dragon Chi. However, even so, it was impossible for her to hand over the Imperial Dragon Chi. Urging the nomological threads, Xianfu controlled them and integrated them into the seven-colored petal eagle's body. Seeing Xianfu urge the nomological threads, Mo Qingyun did not dare to hold back and immediately urged the nomological threads too. Immediately, one giant nomological thread after another condensed around Mo Qingyun. Before long, the number of nomological threads that condensed around Mo Qingyun reached close to 10,000. Close to 10,000 nomological threads. Sensing the number of nomological threads that Mo Qingyun had, Xianfu's pretty face trembled. Her beautiful eyes were filled with shock. Under normal circumstances, only people with quasi-celestial, celestial god cultivation could have nomological threads reach this level. More importantly, the size of the nomological threads that Mo Qingyun condensed was several times larger than the average person's. In other words, although the number of nomological threads that Mo Qingyun had was only close to 10,000, the quality was comparable to several tens of thousands of nomological threads. When both sides' nomological threads merged, the auras of the Thunder Dragon and the seven-colored petal eagle immediately soared. The battle also became more intense. As Mo Qingyun and Xianfu's battle became louder and louder, it attracted the attention of Enchun and the rest, especially Jin Tongxing and the rest. When they saw the combat strength that Mo Qingyun displayed, they were even more shocked to the extreme. A person with great celestial cultivation had combat strength comparable to a late-stage godly king? This was too terrifying. Chapter 33:27. How is this possible? How can his battle prowess be so strong? Is this guy's cultivation really only at the mid-stage of the great god stage? Although he can stand up to Princess Xianfu, he definitely won't be able to last long with his cultivation. Let's keep these two and the specter busy. Don't let them disturb Princess Xianfu. Princess Xianfu will definitely defeat him. After a brief moment of shock, Jin Tongxing and the others revealed determined expressions and fought with Chun and the Spectre. At this moment, Xianfu had already calmed down from her shock. She looked coldly at Mo Qingyun and said, "Although your methods have shocked me, in the face of an absolute difference in cultivation level, you're merely struggling on your deathbed." Hearing Xianfu's words, Mo Qingyun shook his head with a faint smile. "That's just what you think. What I think is that you don't have any other trump cards. Our battle should end." Mo Qingyun's words shocked Xianfu once again. She frowned slightly. She was very confused. What other trump cards could Mo Qingyun still have at this stage? At the same time, she was also very curious about what Mo Qingyun was relying on to say this. Just as Xianfu was puzzled, a shining door of light appeared in front of Mo Qingyun. Following this, Mo Qingyun's figure flashed and entered the door of light. Immediately after, Mo Qingyun's figure and aura disappeared from Xianfu's perception. Seeing this scene, Xianfu's expression was shocked. She then revealed a disdainful smile and said, "I thought you had some tricks up your sleeve, so you're just using your trump card to escape." At this moment, before Xianfu could finish speaking, she saw a figure flash in front of her. It was Mo Qingyun, who had just disappeared. Seeing Mo Qingyun appear again, Xianfu was shocked and her eyes widened. Mo Qingyun wasn't running for his life. Instead, he used some kind of ability and teleported to her. Seeing the panic on Xianfu's face, Mo Qingyun revealed a faint smile. "I've already said that your thoughts don't represent my thoughts. I don't plan on escaping, and you don't have the ability to make me do so." Seeing this unforeseen event, Xianfu's expression tensed. She immediately slapped at Mo Qingyun and said angrily, "If you hid far away, I might not be able to do anything to you. Now, you've taken the initiative to come to my side. With the difference in our cultivation levels, you're just looking for trouble if you fight me in close combat." Facing Xianfu's attack, Mo Qingyun was not afraid at all. He still had a calm smile on his face. "Xianfu." Mo Qingyun shook his head and sighed. "How many times have I told you? This is just your opinion. It doesn't represent my opinion. The Genesis, Darkness, Fortune, Bloodline." As Mo Qingyun spoke, he activated the two bloodlines and body constitutions to suppress Xianfu. Instantly, three powerful and domineering forces exploded from Mo Qingyun's body. Under the suppression of the three forces, Xianfu's eyes widened, and she felt a strong sense of fear. At the same time, the blood in her body began to boil. Puff! The boiling blood in her body caused Xianfu's blood to flow in the opposite direction. She couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. Before Xianfu could calm her blood, Mo Qingyun's palm approached and attacked her shoulder. As for the palm she threw at Mo Qingyun didn't dodge at all. He looked like he was going to take it head-on. Bang, bang. Two loud noises were heard. Then, Mo Qingyun and Xianfu were sent flying. They retreated several thousand meters before coming to a stop. Mo Qingyun steadied himself. He took a deep breath and said, "As expected of a divine king expert, even with my current body constitution, I'm still quite injured from taking her palm. However, although I'm slightly injured, you seem to be more heavily injured." As Mo Qingyun spoke, Xianfu steadied herself. Puff! As soon as Xianfu steadied herself, she spat out a mouthful of blood. Her face was as pale as paper. Then, she looked at Mo Qingyun with great shock and fear. In a direct clash with Mo Qingyun, she actually suffered a great loss. This result frightened her. When she fought with Mo Qingyun just now, Mo Qingyun didn't play any tricks at all. He fought her head-on. How is this possible? Xianfu was unable to return to her senses as she stared at Mo Qingyun nearby. She was unable to accept this result. However, before Xianfu could recover from her shock, Mo Qingyun launched another attack. Xianfu's eyelids immediately twitched when she saw Mo Qingyun launch another attack. She dodged backwards instinctively. Mo Qingyun stopped when he saw Xianfu's actions. He did not pursue her anymore. Afterwards, Mo Qingyun turned around and launched an attack towards Jin Tongxing and the others. Jin Tongxing and the others were already at a disadvantage against Enchun and the others. If Mo Qingyun joined the battle as well, they would be in an even worse situation. Upon seeing Mo Qingyun's actions, Xianfu, who had been preparing to flee, stopped in her tracks unwillingly and shouted, "Stop!" When Mo Qingyun heard Xianfu's reprimand, he turned his head to look at her and said, "If you want me to stop, I can. However, you'll have to pay a price." "What price?" Xianfu was cautious. She was afraid that Mo Qingyun would make an excessive request. Mo Qingyun smiled and said, "My request is very simple. Just give me all the dragon chi you've obtained." Xianfu seemed troubled when she heard Mo Qingyun's request. She seemed to be struggling. If she handed over the dragon chi now, all her previous efforts would be wasted. Not only that, but judging from the current situation, she would lose the right to compete for the dragon chi if she handed it over. "Looks like you're not willing to cooperate."